Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M,
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
So yesterday we had a couple of bits of breaking news, so we thought it'd be great to bring Bronny back in for the Go Hour. Welcome into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour is presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. We call it the Bro Hour when Bronny's here. We call it that because executive decision yesterday. Bronny, thanks for coming back, buddy. We had a little.
I don't think I have an option. Like, I feel obligated whenever duty calls, especially when David's duty calls.
Well, I think you appreciate not having to think about the content, just react to the content.
Yeah, this is a much better chair to sit in than that one. Olin's got it made.
Olin's got it made,
No
bro.
wonder he comes in here and just makes off-color remarks for an hour and then starts, he leaves here and he kind of wanders throughout the office and he'll meander and, what do we say? Like, Olin can shoot the bull with the best of them. I mean, he can linger and meander around that foyer area in the office to put off writing in advance for a basketball game. Or,
You know who's second on the list, though?
Well, that's my office.
Yeah. I was going to say, you enjoy small talk.
Listen, I'm the lobby lizard. Okay?
That's what Bellucci calls you.
And whenever I have to go do actual work, I always have to walk upstairs and sit in your office to type articles and stuff like that. But Olin, it's a science to him. And you can just kind of watch him. We all put one of those air tags on him.
Yeah.
We should probably do that anyways. He's getting older. We should probably just.
We can find him.
Yeah, we'll get Nick to pat him on.
What do they call when your iPhone goes crazy?
Those are air tags.
No, but for when.
Amber Alert. Yeah.
Silver Alert.
Silver Alert. So we'll get Nick to just put one in his hand one day and slap it on his back and get him to stick. And that way we can track Olin not only throughout the office, but in case he ends up walking the streets of College Station. But it'd be interesting to kind of map out his day-to-day.
His movement?
His
heat map?
Yeah, his heat map of the office, yeah.
Do I strike you as somebody that enjoys small talk?
I don't know, No, you don't, because you like to make it real awkward. Like right there, we were having a great small talk session, and then you cut it off. And do I look like somebody that enjoys?
I don't think I said it with that tone, but I think Nick and I are here very aligned. Like fake small talk. Oh, how was your day? Oh, it was great. How was yours? Oh my God, that was awesome. Like nobody cares. You don't really care how my day went.
So hold on. You only have, when somebody asks you how's your day, you have one answer.
It's great.
Great, fine, good. But
if you tell them terrible, follow-up question.
No. Yeah, right. And nobody wants that. Like, David, how you doing today? I'm terrible. God, now I got to hear about it.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares about your problems. And this is something that we have a lot of college-age people walk around the office in the summer. We have more interns and stuff. Listen to me. If you're in college, nobody cares
about your emotions or your feelings.
Nobody cares. And what's the old saying? Nobody wants to hear your problems because half the people don't care and the other half are glad you got them.
Watch this. Ambry, how you doing?
I'm great.
It could be the worst day ever. Just say that so you don't put your guilt on me.
All right. So I'm going to make it awkward and switch the conversation point. Okay.
Do you think I like small talk?
I don't like small talk. I fake phone calls every day of my life. Every day.
You fake phone calls to get out of conversations with people?
To avoid the start of a conversation. All the time.
Hey,
every day.
There are people that work out at the same gym we work out that are listening to this now, and now they know you're.
Yes. Duh.
That he doesn't want to talk to you. He's too good. He's David Nuño.
Not that.
His vascularity's greater than yours. His muscle tone's greater than yours. His body fat percentage is less than yours. He's just better.
I'm actually feeling a little flat right now. I think I have to up the carbs. But that's not what I'm talking about. No, in fact, the gym is the place that I enjoy because most of the folks that are there, we see each other all the time. They're recognized face. And I like new people too. I just don't like it in the middle of something. In the middle of a set, camping out, like
I had a
pulling
crazy.
up, like, David, what do you think they're going to do with the backup quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay, until I'm done with this set, please.
I had one of those the other day. And it is just, all-time lack of self-awareness and feel.
But we are so blessed to do what we do.
Sure,
that
and
I enjoy. I actually do enjoy it.
It's nothing nefarious.
No,
it's just and most people that we know in there that we know listen to the show, they're great.
Actually,
but now if you see David acting like he's talking on the phone, especially if he's doing it in Spanish, there's nobody on the other end.
Oh, I'll prove that. I'll call somebody just to do it. So. Mami, ¿cómo está? Hey, you just called earlier. I know, but we got to do it again. No, it's not A&M talk. I don't mind that. It's like, somebody you haven't seen in a while that you're not really that, but it's going to be a 19-minute conversation. That's who I do it with.
I mean, you should be good at escaping things like that with all this MMA training you're doing.
I had a great day yesterday. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
I got my butt kicked, but I also won.
Nobody should be able to pin you down either conversationally or physically in this town.
In fact, I request more small talk. I'm turning over. I don't fight people anymore. There's no more fighting online or listeners.
The spell that you went through where you were offering people workout tips and form tips.
That still happens.
That's crazy. You haven't done that in forever. You went when you've I don't know if it was like when you first got this job. It was whenever Luch started. You and Luch started going to the gym together, and that was crazy.
I did
that was.
I did it twice.
That's
maybe 3 times.
Okay.
And
that's
one
the
was
most psychotic behavior that you've ever. I mean,
if you're doing if I were trying to plant a tree and I was doing it wrong, and Mr. Tree walks by, he's like, "Dude, you're doing this all wrong. Let me help you."
So you're Mr. Tree in the gym. You're Mr. Tree.
There are certain exercises that I think there's a guy that I really want to help. Very nice older gentleman who thinks he's doing biceps every day, but he's not really doing biceps every day. That I want to stop and help him, but because he hasn't given me the look of entry. There's a look that they give you.
You would know because you've this is a threshold that you've crossed.
I know when it's like approaching a girl at the bar. You should know when you're 19 years old.
Nick, clip this.
You should know when you can go in and when you cannot. You don't follow?
I've never equated what I do or the people I talk to in the gym
with looking at me crazy.
How I used to interact with females at the bar. Long time ago to my wife, long time ago.
30 years ago for me. But here's the thing. You know when it's okay. Those with game know when it's okay. Let's move on. Cliff Pennington hired at Texas A&M.
Hold on. We're not done with this yet.
Okay.
But you just said that you will fake a conversation on the phone to avoid, actual face-to-face interactions with people in that same place. So how is that any different?
Yep.
They're coming up to you without being invited and kind of you don't really want them to come up to you, and you're doing the same thing.
I don't do it to just anyone. There's either been a conversation at some point. Like the last time I did it was a mistake. It was one of Lucci's friends, a friend at the gym. And this person was struggling with an exercise, and I go, I think you're doing it wrong. Oh, thank you. And then they told Luch, and it became content for an hour. It's that simple.
Well,
and I actually said to this person,
an hour and 10 minutes.
Don't tell Lucci, please. And they told Lucci 12 minutes later.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's got a Rolodex of things like that. Like the stuff that his brain fires on is crazy. Like he can't remember when he's supposed to be where or sometimes even where he's going, but he can recall a third quarter play at Sugar Mill Elementary or Sugar Mill Middle School in Sugar Land where the ball was thrown behind him. This was like 1993. The ball was thrown behind him and he made a great catch.
Yep.
That's the stuff that his brain can remember.
He can remember and names like that when it comes to stuff. All right, Cliff Pennington. We're 9 minutes into a segment. We've got Stephen McGee coming up. We've got soon-to-be Hall of Fame Ryan Swope going to be on the show at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, congratulations to Swope. Congratulations to Dan Campbell. That video that A&M football put out yesterday was incredible. And obviously when we have McGee in here, it may get a little bit off the rails. We may start talk gym finances. Is there any fitness things that we can invest in? But Cliff Pennington, I was tracking that news the last, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 days, especially it got real later in the last weekend.
Yep.
And then talks progressed. Obviously, a lot of conversations with Mike early. And then, I think for a lot of reasons, this makes sense. First of all, it makes sense from a baseball perspective. Cliff Pennington is incredibly, incredibly sharp. His reputation in baseball circles is sterling as not only a coach, but like an evaluator of talent, an evaluator of the game. His feel for spacing defensively, and I think he's really advanced in some of his base running stuff. And when Coach Early went into the assistant market, I mentioned that one of the things that he was looking for, obviously, was a defensive coach. And you go look at what Cliff Pennington has produced at Dallas Baptist. They fielded over 980. I think they were 15th in the country, 982 in the fielding percentage last year at Dallas Baptist. They turned a ton of double plays. That is skill work, like turning double plays. That is skill, but it's also positional work, like advanced scouting, putting your guys in the good positions to be able to make those plays. And I thought that there needed to be somebody like that in that role, first and foremost. Secondly, though, Cliff Pennington's going to coach third base, and I think he's going to have a hand in calling the offense. Now, Mike Early is taking over the overall hitting approach and taking over the hitting, but in terms of like calling the offense, I do think that Cliff Pennington is going to have a real voice in that room. I'm not saying he's going to be guy doing all the signs pitch to pitch, but I think like they're going to go into each game, each series with kind of a mixed plan of like, okay, this is what, from the swinging perspective, the pitches that we want to swing at, this is what the scouting report says. These are the pitches that we can swing at. But then Cliff Pennington gives you that voice of, okay, like if we're not hitting the 3-run homer, which that's what I would recruit to Bluebell Park if I was Mike Early, and that's what the hitters have looked like over the last 4 years when he's been here, right? Like we want guys that hit the ball hard in the air. That's what I would recruit to Bluebell Park. But what happens if we get into these situations like this year where the weather was turned around in so many of these home series where the ball is not flying out of the ballpark and you can't sit back and wait on the 3-run homer, and we're going to have to play the serve and volley game. And Cliff Pennington gives you a real skill set and a real mind for doing stuff like that. He can obviously teach hitting, man. Like he played in the big leagues for 11 years. He played alongside Mike Trout, some of the best players in the game. He's seen the best in the world do this stuff. So he can obviously teach hitting in the swing and work with that. But like where I think he's super advanced is teaching defense, defensive positioning, and situational awareness, which is something that really struggled, right? This year we talked about the bunt defenses, the pitcher's fielding practice errors, like all that stuff. Like I think Cliff Pennington comes in and cleans that up pretty quickly. But then he also, like he can teach the bunt game better. He can teach the base running stuff better so that if you get into a scenario, and inevitably you're going to, right, in this league, you're not just going to hit the 3-run homer all the time.
Right. And
you're going to be playing against teams that are as talented as you in the other dugout. Why not build a well-rounded offense that if you need to get into those type of games that you feel comfortable executing it? And I think Cliff Pennington adds to that recipe.
By the way, Ryan Broniger did break that story, contrary to what you may have seen on certain reports.
That was pretty funny. I don't care about the credit. It's just some of the stuff that got put out there by competing outlets was really funny to me.
Yeah, it was just like.
One in particular credited Kendall, and Kendall breaks
a lot of stuff.
99% of the news.
Actually, two credited Kendall on your tweet.
Well, one of them credited Kendall, and this is no shot at Kendall at all. He breaks 99% of the news in college baseball, but one site credited Kendall and then embedded the tweet where Kendall quoted me about the breaking news, which my tweet's in there. It's just pretty convoluted, but it's funny. Like, I don't care. It's funny.
I care. I'm just saying, like, because I know they would care.
They
Let's be honest.
But I just...
If a site that doesn't break a lot of news were to break news and we didn't credit them, they would be upset. Credit to one guy for apologizing. Anyway, let's move on to another topic because we got another commit yesterday.
Yeah, Cameron Hamill. Can we kind of finish on Pennington though?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
let's finish on Pennington. We can do the commitment in the next segment. But to me, Michael Early was a little bit fortunate because there were some posters on the boards talking about let's not just hire Cliff Pennington because he's an Aggie. I'm like, no. You're hiring Cliff Pennington for what he is as a coach. And this is a really, really quality hire. I talked to a lot of parents that have been recruited by Cliff Pennington over the last couple of days while he was at Dallas Baptist. Nothing but great things to say. I've talked to the professional scouting community, extremely complimentary of Cliff Pennington as a coach, developer, evaluator. It shouldn't matter that this guy played at Texas A&M and loves Texas A&M. That's the cherry on top. They didn't go hire Cliff Pennington because he's an Aggie. They went and hired Cliff Pennington because he's a legitimate upgrade to the staff in terms of his experience, his wealth of knowledge in the game, his playing experience, his ability to relate to players. I think he can help Mike Early maybe uncover some blind spots that we saw this year. And Mike Early's that guy's super self-aware. If you are sitting there listening to this program this morning and thinking that Michael Early isn't keenly aware of what's at stake going forward, you're crazy. And he is motivated to fix it, and I think this hire shows that. Now, does it help that Cliff played at Texas A&M? You bet your bottom dollar it does. I guarantee you that it does. But that's not the reason that he was hired. And that's not the reason why this hire is being celebrated in the baseball community. The hire is being celebrated because of the quality of coach that A&M's bringing in.
All right. This is TexAgs Live. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it by calling us up at 979-693-1150. That is the Buppy's Catering hotline. You can call that number, or you can text that number as well. We go around the room left to right. By the way, we're typically hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Love hanging out there, but today we're at the desk because we just got a lot of moving parts on the program. Behind the glass is Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, kind sir.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you?
I just got one question for y'all, and I know Bronny can't hear me right now, so you can pass it along to him. Which Aggie's taking home the NBA championship? Alex Caruso, is he going to get his second ring as an Aggie, or is it Quentin Jackson going to pick up his first ring? And I guess in how many games? I don't know if Bronny's the best one to ask about the NBA, but I know you can still keep up with it a little bit, David.
I love basketball. So who's going to win the NBA Finals? Which Aggie? Quentin Jackson, part of the Pacers, or is it going to be AC Fresh with the Thunder? I'm going Thunder in 6.
Yeah, the Thunder are, I think, clearly the best team. I don't watch any basketball, but just in my scrolls and listen to people that do watch basketball talk about the finals, I like the Pacers. I think they're a cool story.
I like their story. I like Rick Carlisle.
And I like Tyrese Halliburton.
Yep.
Like he goes on McAfee's show a bunch. Obviously, they're in Indianapolis, and really cool personality. Seems like a funny guy and like not too serious. Doesn't take himself too serious. I loved what he did in the Garden, like the old Reggie Miller show.
Yeah.
That was cool. But yeah, it just seems like Oklahoma City's a wagon. And like, I don't know, have they done the superlatives for the NBA, like MVP or anything? Because like, could Alex Caruso win Defensive Player of the Year?
Well, I think he could. I don't think they've done that yet. Usually the MVP is announced by now, but I don't remember seeing it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it did come out, Nick, if you want to fact check that. But I saw a video with LeBron on my way here. I should say saw. I listened to a video with LeBron on my way here. Sometimes I do Twitter videos and they just keep going, you know? I was listening. No. I wasn't watching. Anyway, and it was LeBron just talking about some people, and I'm not a big LeBron guy, as you know, but people do not know how to value AC correctly because they look at the plus minus and he'll have 5 points, maybe 2 rebounds, and they're like, but you didn't see who he guarded all game. And he can guard Giannis. He can
was it Jokic, the one that like
Jokic,
that's where he got a lot of kind of the accolades for being like an elite defender with what he did against Jokic. So I mean, that guy Jokic might legitimately be the best basketball player on the planet right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he won the MVP.
Okay, so it is official. The SGA, which he deserved it. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center again, but this time formally. Ambry Heath, I was listening on Friday when you made your debut. I thought you did awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do you have for us this morning?
Let's talk about the Hall of Fame, like y'all mentioned earlier.
You got some names for us? Well, I know we mentioned 2.
Texas A&M will honor 8 incredible Aggie legends in the Athletics Hall of Fame. The class features football stars Rod Bernstein, and y'all mentioned Ryan Swope, I think. And the class also will recognize track stars Shamir Little and Shelby Vaughn Wowley, I think. That may be wrong. Softball Shan McDonald, men's golf coach JT Higgins, and swimmer John. Rick Rickman and Dan Campbell will also receive special honors for their lasting impact on Aggies.
Awesome stuff, Amber. You having fun here yet?
So far, so good.
So far, so good? Good. We'll be coming back to you here in a minute because we're late for a break. All right, so we can't make jokes about it because it's not OB, and we've also tried to clean up the spot a little bit. But the food at $17.75, I would like to go with you and Olin, and I'd be the moderator of discussion. But
what do you mean we need to clean it up? It's my favorite spot reading the entire show.
Sometimes Olin will, it's never me. Olin will say things, I may lead him down a direction, but he'll say things, and you know what? The truth is, the meat's great. Sorry.
Hey, listen, can I tell you this? That queso mac and cheese, I had a sample of it. Listen, you put that stuff on top of a horse turd, and I'd probably fight through it.
I haven't thought of it that way, but
that's how good it is.
Yeah, it is that good.
You put a boat of that queso mac and cheese on top of your head, your tongue will beat your brains out trying to get to it.
I think I should use you more often on these spots. Tell me one more.
I don't know that I haven't. Well, the barbecue, the brisket, the sausage, the jalapeno cheese sausage. Slap your mama? No, that's beat her to death good.
I don't think I need to say anything more. 1775 txbbq.com, or you can call them up 979-492-6241. They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. It is 1775.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in on the program. By the way, the show ends at 10:50, but right now we're going to give away a free pizza. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Days. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com.
I need a 30.
And your favorites are on there.
I need a 30.
You need a 30-second timeout?
Well, you just said the show ends at 10:50. What if somebody's
the final segment of the program?
You said the show ends at 10:50. Listen, we're accountability buddies, okay?
Okay.
I don't skip reps in the gym.
No, but you skip pants.
What do you mean skip pants?
You're not wearing pants
shorts
right now. That's why we're not. I wasn't going to call you out. You call me out, I call you out.
Okay, my jeans are in the lobby.
Yeah, but you were too lazy to put them on.
No, that's not true.
That's the truth.
Listen, you want the truth?
Yeah.
Nick said he didn't want to be in here moving that platform, and that Nick was tired of doing as you tell him to do. So this is a big middle finger from Nick.
I don't think that Nick operates like that.
You don't think Nick shoots a middle finger? Come on.
Not to me. No.
Not when you're looking.
Well, maybe this is true. All right, so we didn't get into it, but shall we get
Nick,
into
I'm sorry. That's not extreme ownership on my part, Nick.
Jocko Willett?
Right.
I just retweeted one of his videos this morning.
Did you? While you were driving to work?
Yeah, because everything's a test.
You retweeted while you were driving to work?
It was at
caught.
No,
red-handed.
You could go look. It was at 6:41. I retweeted it on my morning walk, my grounding outside walking.
You walk barefooted in the morning?
Sometimes.
What a weirdo.
Yeah, I'm trying to connect with the earth. Anyway, everything's a test. Like drinking that. What are you drinking? Is it just coffee? Dutch Brothers?
Dutch. Well, no free ads, but this is coffee from a local establishment that has. It's a
good
chain.
following.
Yes, and this is jet fuel. Like it's nitro cold brew, and I used to get it with the ice in it, and then I figured, they put so much ice in it that I'm not getting the volume of liquid that I wanted. So I started ordering 2 of them, no ice, and then you can pour the amount of liquid, because they don't, if you take the ice out, they don't fill it up. They give you the same amount of liquid with or without ice, and it's already cold.
It's probably, when you do it like that, it's way more than the 500 milligrams of caffeine you're supposed to have a day, but go ahead.
We have different body styles. And I told you yesterday, I'm built for more comfort than I am speed, but this stuff,
it's fantastic.
It's jet fuel. I'm running hot this morning.
All right, let's get into, is it Hamill? Is that how you say his last name?
Cameron Hamill.
Hamill. Let's talk a little bit about him. Another quality defensive back, going back to Arizona where they've gone before.
Yeah, number 1 player in the state of Arizona by some services, and same high school as Jamar Bill Goins in the last class. And he started, I believe it's his first 2 years in high school. He was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, had some impressive track numbers there, and then moved to the desert last year. And, what I like about him is his positional versatility, but they're recruiting him primarily to come in and play nickel. And we're seeing that more and more because of how important that position is with Mike Elko's defense. I think this kid, when you watch the tape, I think there's clear corner ability, like cover ability. Mm-hmm. But he's decisive and he's unafraid in the run game. Like there's some safety traits. And I think that's what that nickel's, whenever we've seen it be really successful under Mike Elko. The thing about Antonio Johnson played there. Like big dude, around the line of scrimmage a lot, really good tackler, but also had like cover ability that made him adept in the secondary, like actually like facing route combinations and feeling the game from the back end. But that's where he's not Antonio Johnson in terms of like physical attributes, but the play style to me is a little similar. And one thing that A&M went out and got last year at corner was raw speed. You look at Adonis Curry and Dejon Petaway and Jamar Bill Goins, like they went out and got guys that can really run. And we've talked a lot about kind of the new emphasis on measurables and translatable athletic traits and gifts. So like this kid had real long jump and broad jump numbers. Well, that's putting power into the ground and getting explosiveness out. Reminds me of how A&M evaluated early TK Norman in the last class. They looked at some of the track stuff, his long jump stuff, and went, hey, like, that's impressive for a kid that's built that way. We think that translates to the football field, and we've heard nothing but great things about TK Norman since he's been here and started adding weight. But he's kept that kind of explosivity through his feet into the ground. And Cameron Hamill has some of those same attributes. And so, like, it's not only they're talking about it, they're actually putting it into practice. And, obviously these kids are good football players too. You don't just say, oh, that kid's good at track, we think he's going to be good at football. Like, you've got to show real adroitness on the football field and skill to play at this SEC level. But they're doing deeper dives into this stuff. And I'm going to put out a note maybe later today. During these recruiting countries throughout the spring, we talked about just how much the recruiting staff, led by GM Derek Miller, was diving into the state of Texas and pouring through all of these prospects, whether they had 2 offers that were mid-major or the 5 stars, and they're going, okay, are we missing on anybody? Because the NFL draft shows us that even though we don't really think this is an elite group in the state of Texas in terms of talent comparatively to what we've seen before and after them, we know there's probably going to be 20 kids from this state drafted. How do we make sure we're not missing on those? And there's a name that's kind of resurfacing when they look through that. And I'm going to put it out a little bit later today.
Okay, we'll hit a break because Stephen McGee's already in the lobby, so we'll chit-chat with him. Right now, Aggieland, get ready for Comcast. They're coming. They're bringing Xfinity and Comcast Business and expanding into the Bryan-College Station market, bringing cutting-edge fiber internet to 70,000 homes and businesses. Whether you're streaming your favorite team, gaming, or growing your business, Comcast has an ultra-fast, reliable, secure network built for you with multi-gigabyte speeds and unmatched reliability. This expansion is a game changer, and businesses and students will thrive with seamless access to online earning. And most importantly, sports fans can enjoy crystal clear entertainment without interruptions, and it's just the beginning. Comcast is also building a new tech hub, rolling out 1,000 miles of fiber and opening a state-of-the-art Xfinity retail store. This investment strengthens the local economy, provides new opportunities, and makes sure that everyone in Aggieland has access to connectivity that they deserve. Stay tuned, Aggieland. The future is fast. You can learn more at ComcastTexas.com/BCS. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studios. The Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Bronny's with me. I'm David Nuño, and Stephen McGee joins us, our QB1 from Paragon Financial, talking a little wide receivers because our buddy Ryan Swope's going to be here soon.
Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. Let's go.
Listen, that guy, he's going to end up being, well, it's probably Melissa, his wife's, like, she's probably deserves more, like, plaudits for what he's got to keep intact at his house.
Oh.
Because Ryan Swope, obviously incredible player, like great dude. We'll talk a lot about that. But the stuff that, like, you're able, just the little small insights that we get into what happens at his house day to day with his boys is like, that's got to be tougher than going across the middle against any SEC opponent.
Auntie Mel with 4 boys on the ground, twins, Benny. So what are they? 4 twin 4-year-olds, 3-year-old, and a newborn boy. And we get doses because my daughter wants to date, who's about to turn 3. She wants to date all of them. I think right now Holden is in the lead.
Yeah.
Right? I think his name gets mentioned the most. But it's funny, when my daughter prays, she will pray for Holden Benny Tucker.
Oh,
it's hilarious.
That's sweet.
And so, but your point is well taken. That's great. Stop Googling old bad pictures when I had hair. That's a really bad one, by the way. That was right after I had mono. We digress. Yes, Auntie Mel, Hall of Fame for sure. Like first ballot Hall of Famer. As great as Ryan was on the field, she's getting it done right now off the field and at home. Not to say that Ryan's not.
When you got 4, it takes a team effort.
It's unbelievable. And I will be honest with you too. I have this like inkling in me that Holden Swope will be a Division I quarterback.
Okay.
I don't want to put that, like, I know he's just a kid. I don't want to put pressure on him, certainly.
He's 4.
But that dude can spin a rock. It's unbelievable.
Good.
14 years from now.
And all 3 of them can hit a golf ball. I mean, they're going to be taking Ryan's cash on a golf course here soon.
Do you think Swope is like, hey, this segment's supposed to be about me, and now they're talking about how good my kids are going to be in 15 years? Or
He probably celebrating it.
Well, I'm just excited about the day when he's got to compete just to be the best in his house. You know what I mean? Because you know how competitive Swope is. I mean, he goes for the throat. But he is the GOAT, man. I'm fired up for him. Look, selfishly, as much as I love him, I thought it was long overdue. I don't know how long he's been eligible, 2 years maybe. Obviously, Mike was a great wide receiver, and they're great friends. But, I mean, he's the leading statistical wide receiver in almost all categories. And when he comes on the air, you're not going to get him to talk about this stuff, so it's going to be awkward for him to bring it up. But
you can talk about it.
Absolutely. I mean, the dude was a GOAT. And I didn't get to play with him. I actually have become really close friends with Ryan post-football through our wives, because our wives were really good friends. And so, I vaguely, like when he came on a recruiting visit when he was at Westlake, Mike Sherman, it was my last year, got introduced to him. We talked about bow hunting, 512 Austin kids. I grew up out of Austin as well. So we had that little connection, but I just always admired the way the guy competed.
Sure.
The way he loved football.
Well, you listen to his teammates talk about him. And to me, regardless of sport, like when you listen to how teammates talk about a guy on the field, off the field, the example that he set with his toughness, as Stephen mentioned, and obviously like an Aggie legend, especially like he was such a key component to a lot of big A&M victories, but especially in that 2012 season on the receiving end of the Johnny Manziel Heisman winning play against Alabama, where fumble, he spins around and finds Swope. And you think about 4th and whatever in the Cotton Bowl, it's Swope over the middle to put the dagger into Oklahoma. I thought that season stamped him as an Aggie football legend when the numbers already said it was going that way. But just the moments that he left, like the indelible memories that he left in a lot of the 12th man's minds, like he's forever one of the greatest.
And I think underrated probably with the leadership and the maturity on those football teams with Johnny when they needed that presence, right? Because you knew you weren't going to get it necessarily. Johnny was a gamer, but like, how about all the work ethic and what's needed to keep the team together away from the field in the offseason? That's where Swope, I think, had such a large impact that most Aggie fans don't see. It's that competitive, it's that desire to win, to commit to the team. It's about us and a guy that's just going to go out there and find ways to win. It doesn't matter. It's not about him. It's about us, right? Getting the job done. And then I think people look at Ryan Swope and they think, oh, this little small white slot wide receiver like Wes Welker. That's just not the case. The guy's big. People forget how big he is. He's 6'2", and he ran 4.35 laser at the combine.
And he's strong.
That is, we call him the dump truck. I mean, he's like, he will dump. One of his friends challenged him in his backyard one time to do a little Oklahoma drill, and the dude ended up in a large Yeti cooler. I watched the video. It was hilarious. Dump truck.
This is like adult version Ryan Swope?
It was probably adult.
In his boots.
Oh, my.
In his backyard.
There was adult.
Dump trucked it.
Adult beverages happened before that challenge had to have been. But what I will say is this. We've heard Mike Evans say that Ryan Swope's the best receiver he's ever played with. And that should be enough of an endorsement as anybody. I mean, Mike not only is one of the greatest receivers here, but one of the greatest receivers in football history. Mike Evans saying that about a guy.
Hey, let me. We're going to talk a lot with Swope at 9 o'clock. Let me ask you something about what Coach Elko said yesterday at the Houston Coaches Night. He says we didn't meet our standard talking about the defense for what a defense should look like. Part of that is year one. Part of that is Tyreek Chappelle's injury, so we had to play more zone. Part of it's coaching, and the other part is players doing it. That is the, if not the $1 million question, is 1A, 1B for A&M this year. Is that defense, Steven?
Absolutely. And I think defense starts up front, right? The ability of you to get after the quarterback. In my opinion, not near as much production in the front four, the ability to get home without pressuring the quarterback, right? You don't want to expose the back end of your defense consistently by having to do, six-man pressures or bringing up the house, go and cover zero and leaving them on an island. You love the ability of 4 guys to rush the quarterback and you still are getting pressure, right? Even if you're not getting sacked around the guy's feet. And with a lot of talent last year, I'm excited to see Mike Elko. You guys know I've praised him at length, especially whenever he was the DC here under Fisher. I consistently saw it week in and week out. This guy scheme up ways in which he could rush 4 guys and create pressures and mismatches to get guys home on the quarterback without exposing the back end. It's artwork, right? And I think that's where these defensive-minded guys and people that love football, Mike Elko fits that description for me. Not to cast shade at all on Jay Bateman and what he can do, but I am excited to see him getting more involved in calling plays defensively and then also designing, especially on third down. I think third down and long is when a defensive coordinator imposes their brilliance on the football field, right? Because you're not as worried about stopping the run on third and long. You're not, they're going to run the draw, rally up a tackle. They want to throw something short, but that's where the defensive coordinator can create pressures that are exotic and really confuse a quarterback and get big, sacks, tackles for loss, and then turnovers, right, on third and long.
Right.
I know as a quarterback, you hated, and coaches always, hey, if it's not there, we'll punt, take the check down, right? They don't want quarterbacks to get, that's where Elko can bait guys and get huge game-changing plays defensively with just his scheme. So, yes, I'm excited.
Well, I think, too, that to coincide with that, they got to tackle better.
Yep.
And we saw that be an issue. So you can scheme it up all you want to, and you get the matchup you want, and you could have one of these checkdowns happen, and you whiff a tackle, and then a 3rd and 8 goes to a first down, and the chains keep moving. One of the things that I really like that Elko does, you talk about his brilliance and ability to create pressure, it's his ability to create confusion up front.
Yep.
Where, he'll muddy the picture for the offensive line, and he may end up rushing 4, but it's which 4 is it? And, going back to his days as the DC here, that's where I thought he really made, that was his heyday. It was just the confusion that he could create.
Yeah, I mean, you can move a guy 1 foot, right? You shift on 1 foot. Now they're, a 4-eye technique instead of a 5. And everyone's call up front changes offensively. It's not a slide. Now it's a man protection. Now the back, instead of blocking Will, he's got to go scan second level. It's those little details. Mm-hmm. When you know offense and you know offensive protections as a defensive coordinator, you can say, hey, this is what they're trying to do, and this is how I'm going to break it down. That was so frustrating as a quarterback when you had these coaches like a Rob Ryan, Wade Phillips, they could keep it simple enough to where guys could execute, but they also knew how to make those little tactical shifts to make your life miserable.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with a buy-sell lease. Right now, if your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, you need to check out the Association of Former Students who bring Aggies of all ages together during some of their marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, The Gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. These events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand and get, there's a lot of different ways you can do it with title sponsorship naming, on-site presence, activation, you name it. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie newsletter and the Aggie newsletter, Texas Aggie magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olson wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Gestapo Nuño here on TexAgs Live. I'm all business, baby.
You are all business. You can't, like, it's because Olin's not here. He's got to go with the off-color stuff.
What was it, that off-color?
No, you're... Hey, did you know what one of Olin's favorite things on the planet is smoked meats? He loves a good smoked meat. He does. 1775.
Yeah,
he loves a smoked meat from 1775.
I bet he does.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I meant to ask, did he just stay in Destin? He took an
No, he's hanging out with Quinn. They're I don't know. If
Quinn's got a sweet internship.
Yeah, in Arizona.
So he's going to like help him get settled over there.
He's got oceanfront property in Arizona.
Yeah.
Do you think he's wearing a Guayabera?
For sure. Guayabera, for sure.
Guayabera?
Yeah. You can't say that no matter what. You've tried.
It is stunning.
He told me that he was wearing Speedos in Destin. Then he told me that he was wearing them backwards.
They're Velcro.
Dude. Just don't let your mind picture that. But I also totally believe it.
Buy, sell, lease. All right. These are going to be not quite elite, very good. You have to pick a veteran, really good offensive line. Again, I'm not saying elite. A veteran, really good quarterback, or a veteran, really good defensive backfield.
Oh my gosh, those are good ones.
I buy the offensive line. I think they're going to be better than if this offensive line can't move people in the run game, A&M will never have an offensive line that can move people in the run game.
I think they're going to be elite, personally.
Yeah, I'll buy them.
Okay, I'll always buy the veteran quarterback because I think a veteran quarterback can help disguise inefficiencies on the front, offensive line-wise, making quick decisions, getting the ball out of your hands, not taking bad sacks, not to diminish the role of a good offensive line. The best team we've had in the last, 10 years.
2020,
great offensive line, veteran guys, right? None of them elite, but really good unit, right? So I think that a good veteran offensive line has an incredible impact on your ability. And then back end, I think I'm jaded a little bit to this point just because it's been a while since we've had
I would sell them.
end.
I think they're going to be good, but I'd sell them, and I'd lease more sell.
I think it's way more important to have a front that is incredibly disruptive. I think that can help a back end that's even average become more productive. I think it's more important to have, not to say that having a back end that can lock people down is not. We need that, but I'd rather have a defensive line that gets after it.
For sure.
And I'd rather have a veteran quarterback that plays quickly and efficiently and makes good decisions, number one, behind an offensive line. Yes, that's veteran. I think that opens up and makes life easier.
People have asked me about A&M football, and I'm like, if this team, with all it returns on the offensive line and Marcel's legs in the back, if they can't run the football, and that's what Colin Klein, that's kind of where his bread's buttered.
So let me ask you guys this. If I could say from those three options,
Please.
Offensive line, quarterback, defensive back, if I said one of them you choose is elite and the other two are just average.
You have to be elite at quarterback to compete in modern football. It's
elite quarterback with average offensive line?
You have to. It is. You cannot name one. In modern day, the last 5 years, 10 years, college football, the best teams have elite quarterbacks. And it's not just true in college football.
Will Howard, J.J. McCarthy. I would rather the offensive line. That's where I think Ohio State and
J.J. McCarthy is a baller.
He's good. Really good. But Will Howard was just okay.
Will Howard was a great college quarterback.
For those players around
He's
him.
okay, yes, NFL-wise. But I don't think that you can say, Will Howard was an NFL draft pick. That's elite. People forget, they diminish, he was a fifth-round pick. That's hard.
We got to drop it right there. Thank you, Bronny. Appreciate you. Swope next. TexAgs Live. All dated. We're back. Yeah, they love it. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Ryan Swope, we've been talking about him all morning. I know it's awkward to hear about it. Stephen McGee still with us. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
And so, how did you find out? Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was May 18th, which it's pretty funny, but I received a phone call. It was, I guess, a couple Saturdays ago. And Mike Evans and Kathy Capps called me and reached out to break the big news. So
cool.
Pretty special hearing from Mike. And obviously he's done a lot for this program and, holds a dear spot in my heart. And hearing from him and, Hall of Famer is pretty cool. So, and then a couple hours later, my wife went into labor. So
what a day.
Yeah, it was pretty eventful. But
you know what I find interesting too is I just looked this up because I thought it was around the same time. 2 days before, randomly, J.D. Pickell tweeted about you being one of the, what was here? I have it right here. College football player of the day, Ryan Swope, A&M, a ball player's ball player. Do you remember when this came out?
Yeah, a couple people sent it my way. Pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, I'm super excited. Obviously, it's a privilege to be in such a great group with a lot of great people that represented the Maroon and White, and looking forward to celebrating come September 5th.
When you, and I know we'll move on to the other football stuff, but I think your story is so interesting in the fact that, like, people still talk about you all the time, Ryan, and it's been, 12 years since you played at A&M? It's been a minute, right? What was your work ethic like back then?
Man, I think back then, and hopefully it's still today, I mean, it kind of starts at your roots. Started at a young age for me. Obviously, I got to give a lot of credit to my mom and dad, just the way they raised me, and starts kind of with my roots. And I was fortunate to have a very competitive younger brother, and we kind of held each other accountable, Louie. And so those people kind of instilled that work ethic in my life that I just kind of carried with me through A&M, and obviously met some great people along the way. And, it's just how I played the game. It's how I played in high school. Didn't go out of bounds. It was a mentality.
Yeah.
And so I just tried to transfer that over once I stepped foot on Kyle Field, and just tried to earhole every guy that I saw.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I know you're not a golfer, but if you ever played golf with him, what he just described is how he plays golf.
Okay.
There are no layups. He is going for the green on par fours. He is going for the throat. And
tin cup style.
And I'm telling you, it's as impressive. I mean, the dude compresses a golf ball. It's amazing. But the most competitive human being that I know right here hates to lose. Like, I love, like, whenever we're playing in a tournament, and
we do always play for money.
Yeah.
Every time.
And it's like, you're playing these guys, and they tournament golf, and you get like 2 putts from 2.5 feet, and you're playing the team. You can say, hey, like, that's good. You can pick it up, and they're good, right? Pick up the ball. And I remember one time I was like, yeah, that's good. And he goes,
I was like,
man, you think we should have him put that out? Like, we're trying to win this thing. And I was like, okay. Yeah, my bad, dude. Like, I just thought 2.5 feet, they were probably good. He's like, no, like, I want to see him putt it. Like,
right.
Those, you can miss those.
That's funny.
So, like, that's, to me, that encapsulates Ryan. It's like, he's, I think that fire, you have all the abilities, and that stuff matters, the skills, the ability to get open, make tough catches. We talked about the speed, the size. But to me, it's the DNA of a winner that's hard to quantify, that makes such a difference in a football locker room. And that's Ryan. I think that, to me, he's a guy that will do whatever it takes to help his football team win. And that's not just on game day. That's 365 days of the year, the commitment to winning. And, it's obviously, I love the guys I got to play with at all stages of my career. But if you said, hey, what's one guy that played at A&M or wherever, you're like, hey, I wish I could have played with him, it would have been Ryan Swope, hands down. I would have loved to have the chance to play with Ryan at any level of football.
You touched on this earlier, but Ryan, I think you should hear it. Like, what Ryan did on the field was obviously special, but how he was a leader with everybody in the locker room, and even to this day with that group.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I mean, you could talk about this more than anybody, but the amount of egos and the distractions during that era of football.
Oh gosh.
And having a guy that was a veteran and mature.
Yeah, it's always, I think it's always there. You've got egos and distractions, and there's adversity along the way. And I think your true leaders come out in those times and take grip of the football team and start leading. And I think it's crucial to have a successful football team. If you don't have those guys, you're not going to win. And so, I mean, you gotta, there's so many different, you're going to be dealt with adversity along the way. I mean, I had, 3 different receiver coaches and a couple different head football coaches. And you just got to find a way to persevere and keep pushing through. And I was fortunate to have a lot of really, really good players around me. A lot of good quarterbacks throwing me the ball, offensive linemen, a lot of good coaches putting me in a really good position to be successful. So it was definitely a team effort, and I'm really honored to accept this award. And but we can carry on. McGee's next. Yeah. McGee's next on the panel for sure.
Hall of Shame. They have a special place for me in a urinal somewhere in the field.
Yeah, right.
I actually thought you were already in.
Well, no,
not in the urinal, like in the Hall of Fame, because
he should be. He's next.
You too. Like I look at both of you in the same way. Like I was like, to me, it's just like, yeah, duh, they're Hall of Famers.
My biggest achievement was just getting coaches fired. You know, I tell people all the time, like I did one thing really well, get coaches fired, not promoted. But I'm fired up for the entire Swope family. They actually, the boys came in the house yesterday, and they're running around. And I was actually, so I do this like workout routine, and then I go home and I stretch, and then I go do a cold tub. And they walked in my room. I'm doing my stretching deal, but I'm in my cold tub outfit, which is my underwear, right? Okay. I don't get cold tub. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, I don't really know what to say. Like, here's all the Swope boys. But I thought it was really cool. I was like, "Hey, did you heard about your daddy's award? It was really cool." So like, "Yeah, Daddy's Hall of Fame." Like, that's pretty cool. Like, if I had sons and be able to share that moment with them, they're at an age now where they can understand and comprehend at least a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
And I think that they're all going to be Hall of Famers, obviously, in their own position and personalities. But I'm just thankful to have guys like this in our local community, too. I mean, Ryan's making a difference. I know he does all the real estate stuff, but I think you mentioned this earlier, Aggies that Aggies really respect, that really encompass the Texas A&M brand well, that's Ryan Swope. I mean, like, you walk around with this guy, and everyone wants to stop and talk to Ryan, and he does. And he does that so well. He's got an incredible gift at that too. So I think not just on the field, but
I experienced it with Ryan at game day at Notre Dame. Everybody stopped him. Everybody.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. And he just does it with such humility and grace. And
I appreciate it, guys.
Let me ask you one more thing about the career, because the Baylor game always comes up. And I just want to talk about that 11 catches, 206 yards, 4 touchdowns. You guys win 55-28. Still talked about today. Just the zone that you felt in that game, just like, when did it click? Like, dude, I'm on another level, or did it?
I think it's preparation. Honestly, leading up, we knew we had a big week, but it's one of those things you just kind of, everything's flowing. You know how it goes. You just you find your rhythm, and you just ball out, I guess, go to say, and that's. And Tannehill, obviously, he was on fire that game too. That always helps when you've got a quarterback throwing you dimes. But I was just in a rhythm, and it's just one of those moments I'll never forget, and I'll get to share with my kids one day. And but by far, I mean, the most magical moment of all was beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and so that'll go down. I'll tell my kids about it, and hopefully they'll tell their kids about it one day. And
I'm gonna tell my kids about it.
Yeah, beating Nick Saban. I mean, just such a cool moment in Tuscaloosa, cherry on top. Coming back here, just being greeted with 20,000 Aggies. Just no other place does it like Texas A&M, and so that was a really, really special day and special night for me.
I want to go to that for a minute, because were there signs? And I think back to the topic, having an elite quarterback, I think, allows for the other elite positions to shine, right? That's where Ryan's able to shine, Mike was able to shine. But were there signs beyond Johnny that, like, dude, I think we're going to be really good this year.
Yeah, I think.
I'm thinking about this year's team.
I'm
talking about 2012, and hopefully there are signs that are happening right now across the street that these guys are like, no, we're about to do something.
That summer is when we noticed, like, hey, we got all these a senior crew coming back. I think it was like 18 seniors. There's, I think 12 or 13 returning to the defense. Like we were over there putting the work in, and we knew we were brewing something really special because we were putting in the work. You know, everybody was coming to practice 7-on-7. We were holding everybody accountable, and we knew we had, you know, the opportunity to do something that's never been done. Now, a lot of people were hating on us this first year in the SEC, had a new ball coach, didn't have a quarterback. There was a lot of things. Coach Kingsbury, we were really excited about just his offense. Dude's a freaking gangster. Love playing for that guy. So that was something we were really excited about. And he instilled just a ton of confidence in our offense. And then obviously finding a Hall of Fame quarterback, Heisman quarterback always helps. You throw him in, and you know the rest was history, and kind of took off. So I think I think every year a lot of people kind of wrote us off that year, and it's maybe a similar feeling over there right now. Maybe that people are writing us off. We didn't have as good of results last year, and so hopefully maybe that'll transfer over to this next season, and we can, obviously I'm excited about Marcel Reed. I think just him having a little bit more experience under his belt, which I'm sure you can talk about that. We had some great transfer receivers. That was a kid from NC State I'm pretty excited about.
Casey Concepcion, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be a good player. Our backfield's really exciting. Obviously, we got some dynamic couple duos back there that can tote the rock for us. So a lot to look forward to.
Yep.
What was when you came up to the line of scrimmage, what was the coverage? You're like, oh man, I'm about to eat. Like, what did you want to see on the back end? Zone, man?
Man, cover. I like to cover two with, or that, what's the linebacker?
Tampa 2? Tampa 2. What's your route? What's your,
man,
if
it was like a basic with a bender that, you could choose and they just go to cover 2 and you could take the hash, let the quarterback throw to the middle of the field. It's hard to beat that.
Love it.
Man, I'm going to bring something up that I've brought up probably too many times on the show, but I want to get both of your perspectives. The way we look at Marcel this year, I think, is tainted a little bit because of what the defense did, not what Marcel did.
100%.
Yep.
Right? Because if the defense holds up their end of the bargain at the end of some of those games, his numbers feel different because they're wins, just like DJ Lagway. And I've brought this up a lot of times, but I just want players' perspective on that.
I'm a believer in Marcel Reed. You know where I stand on this.
You were early on, right?
Very early. I agree with that. I think that football is the ultimate team game, and
100%.
I think great defense does make offense better, and vice versa. I think the opposite could be said too. Like the Texas game, I think our defense played really, really well. They put us in a position to really get on top of that game early, and offensively we didn't get it done.
Yeah.
On the flip side, South Carolina,
yeah,
it's like
that's a good football team. Though.
South Carolina's a good football team,
and you lost your best running back,
but
your best player.
Yeah, but you don't make tackles, and then ultimately, later in the game, the offense had some chances to. I remember I was with you. You're like, oh, here it goes.
Again.
Yeah, you're like, here we go. Like it's going to happen right here. We're about to flip it. We had multiple opportunities in the second half to. So yeah, you are correct. And then let's not forget about special teams. I know we like to forget about it sometimes, especially 35-yard field goals. But. It's it all comes together. I mean, college sports especially is a funny thing because it's momentum, right?
Yeah.
And you see the impact of big plays on both offense and defense.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from Elko yesterday. If you think back to the core of the 2020 football team, the offensive line's where it all started. And by the way, this year's team, it's all starting with the offensive line. We bring back all 4 tailbacks. That's not something you see all the time. And one of those was, if not the best running back in the SEC, one of the 2-3 best in the SEC.
4 tailbacks and a quarterback that pretty dang good running too.
Yeah.
You almost bring back 5.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm excited about that. My biggest question mark is receiver, obviously, and we've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah.
But,
do you think the receivers are better this year? Potential better? Because you don't have Noah
ask
anymore.
Ask me that like in August.
Yeah.
I think I need to go and watch 2 days and see more.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Terry Bussey is going to be a big part in our offense.
I think speed-wise, we're going to have more explosive guys this year.
Do we have like a guy like a Mike Evans? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know. Jerome Miles, maybe, if he plays.
Boy, if we find Mike Evans, we better get out the NIL fund and dump it on him.
Do we have
But I think
a
you're
guy
saying
that
a
can
big
go,
guy, right?
a big frame guy that we can throw the ball to on the goal line that will come up with the ball?
One guy that I'm excited to see is the true freshman, the big kid, 6'3" kid that can run. Granted, look, we've been down this thing a million times. We've seen 5-star kids come in here like, we hope that this guy's going to be a player. That's a big if, right? And how much of an impact can a young guy have, learning the offense, et cetera. But I like your two guys. I like Craver and I like Concepcion. I like what I saw. They had a little burst, a little something in the spring game. They make some tough, competitive catches. What's Roman Bethel, the kid that
Ashton Bethel Roman, yep.
He's looking better. I mean,
we need a tight end. That's like the biggest. People don't understand how valuable a good tight end is. And in the even in the NFL, like you win a Super Bowl if you have a franchise tight end. Like
franchise
makes a difference. You can bring him in, block. We need somebody that a big body that can block. That can you split them out, catch the ball, do everything.
They've kind of refined that group. Amari Niblack, who's a different skill set for most times. He's more of a wide receiver who plays tight end. You've got Nate Burkhardt, who had a really good spring game. And Theo returns. And Theo showed moments last year that he could be really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. They create mismatches, right? Personnel groups. That's the biggest thing there. And then how do you match up against a guy like Bussey? Like, we don't mention him often, but he's going into year 2. He's got a lot of burst and athleticism. So, do you define him as a receiver, a slot guy, a running back?
Is he going to be a slot, do you think?
I mean, he did a little bit of both, right? Like, they kind of mixed him in.
Like an Ananias?
Kind of like an Ananias.
That's how I envision him.
But
he's so fast, man. He's just got that burst.
You have the opportunity for some interesting personnel groups, right? Bring in 2 tight ends and Bussey and Owens. I mean, all of a sudden you're like, how does the defense line up? Are they going to line up in base defense, 4-3? Well, then you split them all out wide. You go 5 wides with that set, and it's like, well, find the mismatch,
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that there's some opportunity for Colin Klein to get really creative. And then the next play, you line up in 2 tights and 2 backs, and you're pounding the football at them. You're like, okay, how are they going to adjust and create some tempo, create mismatches, easy throws for your quarterback. You got to get him settled in early in football games. But look, I love this position for A&M football. I hate when A&M goes into the year a top 10 team. I think it's a curse. I want us to be outside the top 25.
I know.
I want everyone to be talking about how bad we're going to be. And here comes A&M. They're going to do the same thing over, 8-4, 7-5. You can always depend on A&M to lose when it matters. I love that. That's great. If you're an Aggie fan, when you read that, you should be like, oh, yes, give me more of this. Because I want my team with low expectations, pissed off and hungry. In a world of NIL and guys that are all about me and money, having a chip on your shoulder, in my opinion, is a good thing.
Would you guys agree more questions on defense than offense?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yes. Although I thought in the spring, I thought our defense, they looked pretty good.
Defense looked good. And is that an indictment against your offense, or is it because your defense is really good? You never really know. But
I thought our defense looked really
Cassius
good.
Howe. What was number 10? The edge guy, rusher, number 10.
Rylan Keno, he didn't play.
Anyway, he had a good game. I mean, we had some guys that stepped up inside, with 2 really good D tackles returning. I'm actually less concerned than I was.
Me too.
Linebackers look really good.
Linebackers look good.
Torian.
Oh, you're talking about the freshman, Marco Jones?
Yes.
Oh, dude,
yes.
He had, 6 sacks in the game?
Yeah, and then
he's a beast, man.
I kind of came
He might play a lot.
Yeah.
Did you feel really good about the back end and the way they competed,
the DBs?
especially in man coverage?
For sure.
Our guys made some catches, but they were tough catches.
Well, Will Lee is already proven he's really good.
Yeah.
Dude's a ball player.
Yeah,
Des Ricks needs to step up and have a better year than he finished last year, and I think he can. And we've seen guys that are highly touted young players that kind of go through when they start getting picked on, how he responds this offseason. The Julian Humphreys who came from Georgia. There's others. I think Dalton Brooks is going to be really good. But there are questions about the back line, the defensive backs, and also getting after the quarterback, which Cassius Howe in third down situations showed that he was really good at doing that. Now, if he's an everyday guy or every down guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the deal, is the consistency, and then not just being a talent guy, but being a guy that does it every game, right? But Cassius Howe, as far as intangibles and measurables, that dude
beast
looks like Shrek out there.
Dude,
I would not want to have to block that guy every week, but look, pieces are there defensively, you'd have to think, and then Tyreek Chappelle is coming back, which is a big addition. Elko mentioned that, right? And that nickel player as a blitzer, coverage guy. Obviously, that nickel guy is responsible for who? Ryan Swope.
Yeah.
That's a mismatch for a lot of guys.
What was Elko talking about the other day? That I think it was the Notre Dame game when when Dalton Brooks got ejected. That's the same. There was a play or two before when Tyreek Chappelle got hurt. So I mean, already from the beginning of the season, you got yourself in a very difficult spot defensively.
Yeah, definitely. That's tough, and I think their ability to understand coverages and zone, and kind of transitioning back year one of a new system and putting guys in a position to succeed. I think that maybe Elko would say that they were a little bit limited defensively in what they could do and what they could actually implement, trying to put them in a position to win. But I think hopefully year two, that on the back end especially, you have guys that understand the different coverages, the expectations, and most importantly, angles, right? Defense matters so much. Like, hey, if I'm in man free, but I have help inside and I'm covering slope in the slot, I'm going to favor that outside shoulder, right?
Yep.
Because I know I have a linebacker free inside, right? It's all about understanding where you're exposed. Or if it's 10 dog man, but I have no help inside, where I'm going to favor inside leverage, right? I'm not going to give you the easy slant. I'm going to make you complete the out route. Things like that.
Let me close out with this question. If I told you guys 9-3 next year, buying that right now?
Buying it, like, would I?
Like 9-3, like, heck yeah, let's go.
I think.
Remember, you got 3 very difficult road games: Baton Rouge, Austin, South Bend.
Yeah, I'll go 8-4.
Well, no, he's saying, would you buy 9-3? Like, would you take it today?
Would you?
I would.
I
would take it today. I would say that my expectation, I think that I'm somewhere between, like, if I'm a betting line, I'm thinking 7.5 wins.
Yep.
8-4 would be, I think, you take the over, and if you take the under, you're saying 7. So if you said 9-3 today with that schedule, I think the question marks are obviously Notre Dame, and then Florida, I think, will be much improved. You have to go to Arkansas, which I think will beat them pretty good, but at LSU, and then
I don't think Missouri's going to be good.
South Carolina, LSU, Texas, and Notre Dame for sure are going to have good football teams, you would think.
Yep.
But then you always have to worry in the SEC about Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, like one of those teams, or even at Missouri. Like, they may not be great SEC teams, but they're still good football teams and they can beat you. Like Auburn last year, we shouldn't have lost to, but we lost to them. So those games happen. I mean, that's nine wins on that schedule means that you're going to beat either Notre Dame, LSU, Texas, or South Carolina.
You can only
I don't
lose.
think we're going to win 9 games.
Well, so
you would buy it.
Yeah.
You can only lose 2 of those road games. I mean, I hate saying 2 because I don't want to lose any, but like you can only lose 2 of those road games.
I hope we do. I just don't feel confident.
Yeah, day one. I mean, I think there's some big question marks for this football team to say, hey, like, and I think as a fan, we got to set our expectations of like, what is that's a good record in the SEC with the current roster, I think.
For sure. I'm actually lying. Last question. I'm way late for a break, but last question. Of those 3 really hard road games, which is the more likely win on the road? You're talking about South Bend, at LSU, at Texas.
South Bend.
Yeah.
South Bend.
I agree. And they had a chance last year.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get it done in the fourth quarter offensively. Really all game.
I think Notre Dame's got some question marks next year, quarterback especially.
I agree.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks.
Congrats again, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We'll hit a break, do a quick open segment before Aaron Torres. Right now, Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square. They are locally owned, they're Aggie operated, and they're a specialty running store with the best selection of shoes. If you're a runner into fitness, you know the right shoe makes all the difference in the world. And at the Brazos Running Company, they're going to find you that right shoe. They're going to put you through a couple of different little easy tests, very simple tests just to see what your gait is and make sure that they get you in the right shoe. If you're a heel striker, a toe striker, whatever it may be, they'll get you that right one. They have awesome clothing there. You can get Viore, you can get Duck Camp apparel, you can get Turtle Box speakers, you can get Stanley Cups. It is the Brazos Running Company located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Check out the Brazos Running Company.
All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy week, and I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals that make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them. 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables.
And we're back. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We're going to go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. You know why? Because Ambry Heath is there, the eye roller. Ambry, I understand that you read books.
I do read books.
You're a book reader.
I love reading.
Like how many books, like in a year or a month? Like what are you, like a book a month person?
No. Like, okay, during the summer, I think I could read probably, I recently just read a book in 2 days. It was a crime book. But like during the school year, it's a little
crime
slower.
book that you read in 2 days.
Yes.
What's the crime book? Do you know?
It was called like The Reappearance of Allison or...
The Reappearance of Allison Getty?
No.
I just made that up.
Okay. Anyways, so during the summer, I read a lot more than I do during the school year.
I gave myself a New Year's resolution of a book a month.
Okay.
For this year. And I personally consider paper books and audiobooks. I do both. Because sometimes when I have chores to do, like I like to listen to a book. I was doing great until I got to April, and I started reading a book on longevity that is 18 hours, or on Audible is 18 hours. So this one has taken me a couple of months. I understand you have a text for us to read.
I do. Madden in Houston said he is one of the best defensive callers in college football, and it is crazy he wasn't calling the plays on that side of the ball.
He's talking about Mike Elko, obviously. Is it crazy? I don't know. So, I like to use real world experience and try to put that into an athletic program, right? And Nick, you can speak to this. When I started at TexAgs, I had so much that I was thinking about that I couldn't geo-target one thing, right? It was because I'm it was almost overwhelming. And I bet you for you too, Nick, when you're learning that role in a new job, there's so much happening that you can't really focus on maybe the graphics the way you want to, or the types of guests we're getting. And then as you get experience and it is your department, right? And the way you can focus on things. And I think that's partially what happened with Coach Elko last year. And also, if you're going to lose, you're going to lose because you tried everything possible.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like you said, I mean, the thing to that, at least to me, is, he got a few years at Duke to be the head coach and run things how he wanted there. But then he comes to the SEC, higher level competition, and, turns out maybe that wasn't the best formula. And he's evolving, learning, just like we've all done in all our jobs, like you just mentioned, like I have here. And, I think taking ownership of that responsibility and the thing that, what does Bronny always say? The thing that gets you there, in reference to Mike early, like taking over the hitting, taking over the defense. That's what built Mike Elko's career up, as being such a successful defensive coordinator. So, I think it's going to be a good move and hopefully pay off in the end.
All right, let's hit a break. Let's talk to Aaron Torres on the other side. I'm sure we'll talk basketball, but I want to talk some football topics with AT, because he always talks basketball, and we're starting to get into football season, so we'll do that here on the other side. Agricultural families understand something that city folks often miss. Life moves in seasons, and each one matters. And my good friend Chance McClain runs Heritage Films, and they tell stories, and they are also having a new section of their business called Farm and Ranch Films. That's the newest offering from Heritage Films that bottles those moments before they're gone. Imagine your grandchildren seeing not just what your operation looked like, but understanding the principles that it was built on. If you have a ranch or if you've got a farm, let them tell that story. Let your grandkids and the future generations know all about it. They don't just film these interviews. They create a cinematic legacy with a Netflix quality production. From the daily routines to the once-in-a-lifetime moments that capture what makes your agriculture story unique. They can also tell personal stories as well with their Heritage Films. Don't wait until it's too late. Visit yourheritagefilm.com right now, yourheritagefilm.com, and click on the Farm and Ranch Films, or call them up, 713-893-8341. It is Heritage Films. And we're back. TexAgs Live presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is time for Around College Athletics, brought to you by Milliken Reserve. And we go to the Buppies Catering Hotline. That's where we find Aaron Torres of Aaron Torres Online. And, of course, Fox Sports Radio. AT, good morning, buddy.
David Nuño, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Everything good?
Everything's good. I decided not to walk the dog today while I'm talking to you. I'm still at the house because last week we had a little bit of a run-in while we were on air. Everybody's okay, but I had to cut the interview short. That's not fair to the loyal listeners in College Station. It's not fair to David Nuño. So I apologize about last week, but I am locked in. I could take you. We could do an extra hour if you want. I mean, I got nothing to do till like noon Central Time. So I mean, I got as much time as you need, man. Even more if you need me.
Well, I was a little worried because it was like, yeah, David, this and that, and oh my God, I got to go. Bye. I was like, whoa, what happened?
Well, I'll just tell the audience. I don't know about the wildlife situation where you guys are, but we get a lot of coyotes in the neighborhood, and so there were two that were within eyesight. They were about a football field away, but they were within eyesight. And I was walking my little girl, and I think they were looking at her like maybe she could be a little bit of a morning snack or a morning breakfast. And listen, I think I could protect myself if it really came down to it. But when you're trying to break down, the SEC quarterback rankings while fighting off wild animals, I thought maybe it was just best that I run. But everybody's okay, and you just got to be careful out there, and everybody's okay. But that is the true story, and I told you afterwards, but I think the audience deserves the truth there. So,
AT, what's a college football story or thought that you've been thinking about here this offseason? Just something that kind of because you always are very good about getting these organic takes. Is there a football topic out there you're like, I've given this thought, and I think this?
Well, one that I think real college football fans have, but probably the general media maybe doesn't. I think we're crowning Arch way too quick, right? Yeah. Congrats on beating UL Monroe and Mississippi State, and it's really cool that you have a fun last name, but, they put you in against Georgia, and he couldn't really do much. And by the way, that's not a criticism of Arch. That's just a reality of, hey, Georgia's really good, but those are the kinds of defenses that you're going to have to beat to compete for a national championship and be the number one pick in the draft. So I think that to me as a college football fan, I am just nowhere near ready to get on the Arch hype train. And I think we're going to find out early with them obviously playing Ohio State in week 1. The other one to me is I just think it's Clemson. I really do. Is that, and I think as we get close to the season, the hype will kind of increase. But, this is a program that was at the top of the sport. Then they kind of didn't really adjust, and we all had our Dabo takes. So listen, I'll include myself. I was critical of the no portal stuff, whatever. But, listen, they end the season really well. They go to the college football playoff. The offense actually moved the ball against Texas. They just, they couldn't get stops on defense. But listen, I think it's an interesting story because of the Dabo angle of, wow, did he really build this the way that he says, the way that he said he wanted to in this portal NIL world without taking a lot of the pathway that most other programs have. But then, too, I also think it's just an interesting conversation about what would be the conversation about Clemson in the ACC specifically as we consistently get deeper and deeper into what we believe is an SEC Big Ten world. Does Clemson winning a championship out of the ACC carry even more weight at that point? So those are two things, big picture, I'm intrigued by. I certainly have more if you want to go another direction, but those are two things that kind of stand out to me.
Let me follow up on that Arch thought because I agree with you, but I do think the guys can be really good. I do. But sometimes you got to go through the fire to get good, right? You may have the raw athletic ability, but how do you adjust to the way teams adjust to you and they watch your film? But I guess my question, AT, is how good does Arch have to be? And I'm going to give you two things to consider when answering this. He's got a lot of talent around him, right? Maybe not the same talent that they had last year, but a lot of talent. And I think they have a very favorable schedule. They go to Ohio State to start the season. Yeah, that's going to be hard. Julian Sain is going to be making his first start too, right? So, and Ohio State lost a bunch of dudes to the NFL draft. So I'm just curious, how good does Arch have to be for that hype to not really fit? Because you look at that schedule, what are they at worst? 10-2, 9-3 at worst?
No, it's a great counterpoint, and I think the talent around him point is important as well. Is that you're right? He doesn't have to be great. I guess just when people start talking about a guy as a number 1 overall pick that hasn't even started, and I think you and I, let's have an honest conversation here. First of all, your points are very well taken, but here's the thing: if that kid's name was Arch Nuño or Arch Torres or Arch Johnson. Is anybody talking about him as the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft without having, with starting 2 games in his college career? Now, you could argue, well, he was a 5-star, well, he was this, well, he was that. Nobody's talking about him as the number 1 overall pick. So I guess that's the counter to the counter. And I do think it's important. I know this is stuff that we've talked about through the years, David, is there's a difference between the lens that college football people look at college football and the lens that people who more watch college football through, who are the next guys in the NFL, look through it. And so I guess my argument is that I think there are going to be a lot of Sunday people tuning in on Saturday expecting to see the definitive best player in college football that will be the definitive number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL draft, where I think, to your point, he could be some version of, a souped up, Quinn Ewers, a little bit more of an athletic playmaking Quinn Ewers, and they can win a lot of games. And so I guess it just comes down to what are you looking for? And you asked me about specific opinions about the season, and mine was more Arch specific than it was Texas specific, because I think, to your point, Arch can be, and I know the SEC quarterback rankings came out this week and it caused all sorts of, whatever, but Arch can be the 4th or 5th best quarterback in that conference, and you could still win the conference if you're Texas. You could still be in the conversation to compete for a national championship with the way a lot of these rosters are looking right now. I'm just more talking about it from the perspective of the NFL fan who's swooping in, expecting to see the definitive number 1 pick in the draft because the last name is Manning, and I'm not sure that we have enough data yet for me to feel comfortable saying that is what's going to happen.
Talking to Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. And by the way, Zach is sending a question: how does Texas have another easy schedule? When would they be able to buy an easy schedule every year? Part of that is because everybody in the SEC is flipping their schedule from last year, which is why A&M is playing all the same teams from last year as well, just on the road. But that's a topic for another day. I want to ask you because I think when I analyze things, it's interesting. I can do it with 2 different hats, and follow me here for a second. I think Greg Sankey, as a commissioner, is a really good commissioner if I don't wear my A&M hat. If I wear my A&M hat, I've got some issues, right? And I think one of the reasons is, A&M felt and was told that they were going to be the only Texas team in the SEC. But we've moved on from that. But what kind of job do you think Greg Sankey has done the last couple of years, considering what some people are saying is he is listening to his ADs, his presidents, more than actually being a czar, if you will, for college football?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, and I've said this consistently since 2020, I'll never not give him credit for standing strong in the summer of 2020 when everybody else was weak and everybody else wanted to cancel college football. And he just said, hey, let's see if we can figure this thing out. And he did. And I'll never not appreciate what he did that summer. I think he's been, very good. I think where my complaints come in, and by the way, I even want to backtrack, and I know I keep couching myself, but, I also want to make it clear. I understand that Greg Sankey's job is to do what's best. His job is not to do what's best for college football. It's to do what's best for these 16 SEC schools. And so I totally get that. I guess last week was the first time that I felt like he looked a little weak. And I'll be honest, I think he looked a little bit out of touch. I mean, he goes to I don't know if it was at a podium, but Ross Dellinger had the quote where he said something of this league is, our schedules are unmatched and this league is unlike any other league. And I think, listen, I think it's the best league in college football, 1 through 16. I think there's no doubt that the Big Ten at the top has closed the gap, if not lapped the SEC the last couple years. And I think it's hard to say that your schedule is unmatched when you're playing one fewer league game than everybody else. You know, it's funny. I saw Kalen DeBoer. Well, you know, we play 2 power conference teams out of conference. And it's like, yeah, so you're playing the same number of power conference teams as basically every Big Ten school in America. So I you know, if I was giving Greg Sankey a grade throughout his entire tenure, it's in the A range. Is it an A plus? Is it an A whatever? I guess my only complaint was I did think that he looked a little bit out of touch last week, given what the SEC was in football last year. And really, you know, the last couple years, if we're being kind of honest, you know, relative to some of the stuff that he was saying at the podium last week. But overall, I think he's done a phenomenal job. And again, his job isn't to do what's best for college football. It's to do what's best for his 16 SEC schools.
AT, last thing for you. Is there a SEC quarterback, because there's a lot of unknowns in the SEC, with quarterbacks especially, that you say, you know what? I think this guy could be a name we're not talking enough about. When the season's said and done, we'll be talking about this guy. Is there somebody?
I mean, I think you're saying that in a positive way of like, oh, we'll be talking about this guy as like, oh, he was better than we thought.
It could be either way. I don't mind.
I think one way or another, we're going to be talking about probably Ty Simpson or whoever wins the Alabama starting quarterback job because, you know, listen, I still think they're going to be very good. I think the schedule breaks in their way. Last year they had to go to Tennessee, LSU. Tennessee's not going to be as good. LSU's at home, et cetera, et cetera. But he's just such an unknown. And, you know, unlike Arch, you know, and some other guys, but unlike Arch, you know, he's really, you know, he was a 5-star, but he wasn't like oh my God, like we were watching his high school football film highlights, like this guy's the next big thing. It was like, you know, a very good high school quarterback. You know, we expect him to be a good college quarterback. So I think he's the one that probably is most intriguing. Now, I'll give you another one really quick, David, and if I'm going long, cut me off. I thought Jackson Arnold got a little bit of a raw deal at Oklahoma. Whole injury core was hurt, entirely new starting offensive line. I don't know if he's going to be great at Auburn, but Auburn, remember, lost a lot of very close games that were easily winnable. If they get a little bit of an upgraded quarterback, I think they can go from 5-7 to probably 8-4. So I think Jackson Arnold, I think that's a big year for both the quarterback and the program there as well.
AT, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
No problem. Talk next week. Thank you.
Later, man. Aaron Torres from Aaron Torres Online here on TexAgs Live. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with a short segment on the other side before we talk to Adam Rittenberg, get some overarching themes in college football. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. If you're looking for a selection that won't break the bank, Caldwell Country Chevrolet is the place to go. They're stocking up on new vehicles, and that inventory is growing daily. They're south of those big city prices, so no dealer add-ons. What you see is what you pay for. And they're locally owned. Their Aggie alumni team is ready to roll out the red carpet to make you feel excited about your vehicle, leaving excited, and then during the duration of your vehicle, you're going to get top dollar for your trade-in. Don't wait. Those deals at Caldwell Country Chevrolet don't always last long, right? So you've got to make sure you jump on them when they're available. It's about a 15-minute drive. The edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically we start off the show in this section and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. That's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it, they'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are like, say, a sports fan, and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Estamos aquí. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. One thing I learned, Ambry does not like when people do fake voices about her.
No.
David, here's a question for you from John in Cyprus.
I don't sound like that.
I don't think you sound like, but you have to like mimic a voice for it to hit. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah, I think so. You can mimic my voice when you read John in Cyprus's text.
Any Aggies 45 plus.
Go ahead.
No. Any Aggies 45 plus watched Rod Bernstein go from being a good running back to being one of the most dominant offensive forces I've ever had the pleasure to watch on Kyle Field. True warrior, how many times did we see him catch a pass across the middle and outrun all the defensive backs? He, in my opinion, was one of Jackie's greatest coaching decisions, moving him from running back to tight end, said John in Cyprus.
By the way, he's one of the latest additions to the 2025 Texas A&M Athletics Hall of Fame class. He lettered here from 83 to 86, 2 straight championships, Southwest Conference championships, and was selected to the All-Southwest Conference team, as well as earning All-American accolades. Way to go, Mr. Bernstein. Congratulations. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back, Adam Rittenberg. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for Around the SEC, presented by the Jaxer Group. Let's go to the Buppies Catering Hotline. Our friend Adam Rittenberg from ESPN joining us to talk all things college football. Adam, what's up, buddy? I don't hear him. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the Zoom is acting up. We may have to call him. Let's regroup for a moment. And it looks like Nick is talking to him, so I think we should be good. Give us a second. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ambry Heath, I'm going to ask you a question. From every guest we've had today, which one made you laugh the most? If it's not Swope and McGee together, you're not playing this game correctly.
Yeah, they were funny together, and they like had a lot of banter, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's the right word.
You can tell they're good friends. They're awesome. We're going to get Adam here on the show in a moment. But a couple of things that I want to talk to Adam about is, are we finally going to get the college football playoff scenario for 26 taken care of? Because I've been reading a lot of things over the last 48 hours, different than what we were hearing last week, and that this could actually go until December, which, if you think about it, it's 25 guys. We may be entering that A&M and Texas game, right, and not know what the following year's playoff format looks like. And I do think that that is very interesting in the fact that by now when they made the change to 12, you knew, there was plenty of time, all right, when 24 comes around, we're going to know. And the fact that we're going to have to wait for a little bit, I think is very interesting. So that's one of the things. And also, I believe that Adam wrote a story where he spoke with Ryan Day, and Ryan Day is thinking that the Big Ten deserves 4 automatic qualifiers, different than what it looks like the SEC, unless they're playing chess, remember? You don't know exactly, but it felt like that's what the SEC was going for. And then they flipped it to, no, actually, we like having the 5-11 model, right? So because of that, I think it's very interesting. All right, so let's go to the Buppies Catering Hotline. Adam, I was just talking about, I believe you spoke with Ryan Day recently about, and by the way, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. But about how he believes the Big Ten deserves 4 automatic qualifiers, and how I feel like that's a little bit of a different message than we got at the end of the SEC spring meetings, which it felt like it morphed into, actually, we prefer more of the 5-11.
Right. Well, I think, again, the Big Ten, which didn't really do any public speaking at its own meetings, has had this 4-4-2-2-1 idea percolating for quite some time. And so I think what Ryan did when I interviewed him yesterday is just vocalize that. That's been generally the Big Ten's position. And maybe it was a little bit more of the SEC's position going into the meetings last week. And then they obviously, as you mentioned, got more rallied around that 5-11 model, which is certainly what the ACC and the Big 12 favor. I think Ryan's point is not all leagues are created equal. Not all schedules are equal, and as a Big Ten conference with 18 members in the last 2 national championships, they feel like they're entitled to more than one guaranteed spot essentially for their champion. So how it ultimately plays out will be very interesting. But I think Ryan's position is one that I think resonates throughout the Big Ten right now. And does that lead to some type of standoff with the other conferences or a slowdown to the process? All these things are on the table.
How would a BCS model work in a 12, 16-team playoff world, 14-team playoff world where, in the beginning, we're talking about a couple of teams getting into it, right? But if there was some kind, and I think AI has come such a long way, and if that was part of the component, how would it work in today's world?
You're talking about something that's more of an analytics based?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's true. I mean, obviously, the SEC put out those lists at the end of its media week there in Destin. I think it would be very difficult to get widespread support for that type of thing. There would be claims, whether justified or not, of this system or that system being biased towards one league. David, what I think we have to get to, and I know not everyone in the SEC likes this, is uniform scheduling in college football. You have to play 9 conference games. You have to schedule a 10th Power 5, a Power 4 opponent. And if you have that on the table, I think there would be greater willingness from the Big Ten side to go to a 5-11 model or something like that. And by the way, it's not a guarantee that we go to 16 teams right away. I mean, that was a message that I got. I didn't report that until now, as from talking to some other people yesterday, that the play here from the Big Ten side might be to slow things down. And hey, we got 12 teams. We got a model for 2025. We could run that back for 2026. We could certainly go to 16 teams, but we're now in no rush to get to the finish line right now because of these issues that we're working through. But I think one thing that does bother people in the Big Ten, and Ryan vocalized that in his comments to me, is that the schedule models aren't all equal. And the SEC can say, well, our data shows that the 8 conference games is stronger than your 9 conference games. It's just a hard argument to buy, especially with the Big Ten having the last 2 national champions, having the number 1 overall seed in the playoff last year. It's a lot easier just to say, hey, we're all playing the same number of conference games. We're all feeding into the same playoff system. And then may the best 12 teams ultimately get there, the best 16 teams.
Couldn't you look? I've been talking about this on the show, and I know the likelihood of it happening is not high at all. It's just a fact that's probably impossible. But if we're talking about this uniform scheduling, couldn't you see a world where you get your 9 conference games, but you also need to play one game against a Big Ten team, one game against a Big 12 team or an ACC team, but making sure those other conferences are scheduled in there as well, so it isn't the cupcake games that we always talk about. And maybe I'm adding to this as I'm thinking, and it's probably just a ridiculous thought, but maybe some of these easier cupcake games, you save that for a game or 2 in the spring.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, I love any idea that gives college football fans a more robust schedule. And I'm against anything that would decrease the likelihood of games like Ohio State and Texas to open the season, or Clemson and LSU, or Alabama and Florida State. I mean, these are the brands that we all grew up watching and being connected to with the sport. Why not have them play more often? So I would love to see a directive like that. And you're right. If you have to move an FCS game to the spring to generate some revenue for those programs, that's great. I don't think those games serve the fans. I think that's a wasted Saturday. And this isn't a long season. We're not talking about baseball. Pro baseball, college basketball, they all have much longer seasons. So why are we wasting weekends? Why are we catering so much of the schedule towards the teams that are just trying to get bowl eligible? I just don't think that's the way you build the sport. You build the sport from the top down and really do what's best to serve the fans of the best teams. That's what I'm about. And what Ryan pointed out to me yesterday is, hey, if we don't have automatic qualifying spots and we don't have equal schedules across the board, a game like Texas, Ohio State would be less likely to happen. So that would be my fear.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel, and tell me if I'm on point here, because you said they don't have to move to 14 or 16. The longer this takes, the more the likelihood is in 26, it's going to be 12.
Yeah. Right, which again, and that's okay too. My whole thing with an expanded playoff was, would we ever have a situation where a team that was capable of winning a national championship wasn't part of the field? And honestly, for most of the 14 playoff, I don't think either of us can sit there and say there was a team that was left out that could have won the whole thing. But there were some examples. I mean, TCU in 2014 is one that immediately comes to mind. I've always felt they could have won a national championship that year. Ohio State in 2015, talented enough with all of those high draft picks to at least make a run. With a 12-team playoff, unless the selection committee really screws up, the teams that are capable of winning a national championship are in the field every year. And most of those teams, let's face it, are from the SEC and from the Big Ten. And you could say, oh, Ole Miss, man, we were talented enough last year. Well, if you were, you wouldn't have lost to LSU, and you wouldn't have lost to Florida. So you weren't capable enough in my mind. You played your way out. That's okay. That happens. But I think with 12 plus, we are always going to have the right teams that can win a national championship be part of this thing.
I would say the only counter to that, it's not really a counter, just a thought. I think there are teams that are sometimes just as deserving, and I'll go to 2020 because I think A&M was just as deserving as Notre Dame to get into that one. But we can move on from that. I want to ask you about Coach Elko and what you've seen from him in a year that I think people feel like A&M's on the right path outside of what happened in November. And I think if you take a macro view of it, November, as much as it sucked living it and seeing it happen here in College Station, it kind of made sense with a first-year program and also the injuries that this team had.
Right. And certainly the injury component is part of it. And obviously your opponents, playing a team like Texas at the end, very talented team. It's the concern that I have is it did feel a little familiar at the end, and you want to break from that. You want to break from that in performance. You want to break from that in how you construct your roster, the areas of the roster that are good. And again, I look at this A&M team, and starting with that offensive line, it could be one of the best in college football. And then, that backfield that, could be one of the better ones in the SEC if everybody stays healthy. With the two running backs coming back from injury, obviously Marcel's still there, second year in the system. I'm a believer in Colin Klein. I saw what his offenses can do at Kansas State. And so I think this is a year that they can take a step forward. But there's going to be, at least nationally, I think some justified doubt until they go out and deliver and put together a complete season and don't have that same old A&M feel that we had at the end of the year when you're losing to Texas and you're losing to South Carolina and you're losing to obviously a very average USC team in a bowl game. And we could certainly debate whether that's a good barometer or not. But I do think things are moving more quietly, maybe in the right direction. Mike is not a guy that's looking for the most accolades on signing day or the most hype. That just isn't who he is. He's going to just quietly grind away and build a roster that I think will, in the long run, serve A&M better. I don't know if it'll happen this year or next year, but I do think this year they have a chance to take a step forward.
Let's talk about your list of playmakers for 2025 that include, for non-quarterbacks, that includes an Aggie, Le'Veon Moss. It's no coincidence that when he went down, the season went south. You've got to build a program that can, withstand that kind of injury. But he'll be back this year. He should be a top playmaker. You team him up with Reuben Owens, Amari Daniels, E.J. Smith, that whole backfield coming back with that offensive line. Just talk to me a little bit about Le'Veon and how he made that list for you.
No doubt. Yeah. And just in making calls, he was a guy that jumped out that obviously did some great things before the injury. And then from my sources, I'm sure you've talked to similar people, like he's responded really well. It's a big injury, obviously, for a running back, any position, but especially someone who uses your legs as much as a running back does. So his response, his recovery has been encouraging for people there in College Station. And the fact, like you said, he doesn't have to carry the ball 37 times a game. He doesn't have to do what Ashton Jeanty did last year for Boise State to be at his best and most effective. And Colin Klein's a guy that likes to have multiple ball carriers in his offense so that you're not overly reliant on just one running back and don't stress the quarterback too much from a running standpoint. So I think he's someone, again, behind that offensive line that could really make some noise. A&M's got to obviously replace some outstanding defensive linemen. That's where I maybe have more questions. But I think this offense is poised to be definitely a top half of the SEC offense and maybe one of the better offenses in the conference if, again, they can stay healthy, because that was obviously a big factor last year.
Adam, do you see things as maybe 4 tiers in the SEC? You got your top 2 or 3 teams, and we can debate who those are, but I think they're kind of obvious. Then you got that next group, potentially Alabama being there. I don't know who else would be in that mix where they could potentially be in that top 2, but and then there's a jumbled group of teams that could certainly move into that second spot or stay right there in the middle spot, and then you got your 2-3 terrible teams.
Yeah, and I think there's who's in those second 2 groups is so interesting. I think going into this year, probably just from an overall talent standpoint, I would put Georgia and Texas at the top. Did LSU do enough in the offseason with a returning quarterback, a 4,000-yard passer, to belong in that top group? They weren't last year. I mean, again, I tell a lot of people this story. I was on the field before the Ole Miss game and at LSU, and you're used to going to LSU and used to seeing them look more talented than the other team. That wasn't the case. Ole Miss was much more talented than LSU. Now, to LSU's credit, they found a way to come back and win that game in overtime. But LSU obviously has to be the more talented team this year. year if they want to get to the college football playoff. Can never count out Alabama. I'm a Kalen DeBoer guy. I've watched his career for many years. I think he's going to have that team in position to make the playoff. But then, yeah, there's a lot of teams. South Carolina. Where does Tennessee fall? Where does Texas A&M fall? Florida has a lot of talent and excitement, but also some question marks, including the health of their quarterback DJ Lagway. So yeah, I think that second, who's truly in the second group? Because if you're in the second group, you're in the playoff hunt, and then if you're in the third group, you're probably not, but you're not that far away. And then obviously, yeah, there's some teams at the bottom, and Mississippi State's certainly a ways away, but I think could certainly improve if they get some better luck on the health front, and some other teams are you always have to have a bottom. It's just how it works in college football. But yeah, who's in group tier 2, tier 3 is going to be fascinating this year in the SEC.
Well, and then if you look at the top two teams you mentioned, I think schedule-wise, Texas opening up with Ohio State, obviously a very difficult game, but it'll be two quarterbacks making one his first start, one a very early start in his career. But outside of that, I feel like their schedule is very manageable. Georgia, on the other hand, not such a manageable schedule.
No, it's interesting. I mean, the team that won the national championship in 21 and 22 has certainly borne the brunt of some of the scheduling here the last couple of years, but and they have questions. I mean, again, the thing that's exciting if you're an SEC fan or you're an A&M fan in particular, you just don't have these behemoths anymore. I think Georgia's vulnerable. Texas, defensively maybe not, but offensively, we don't know how good Arch is going to be. And then Georgia, Gunnar Stockton thrown into a difficult situation. They didn't go out and add a transfer. They're going to run with him at least to begin the season. Are they going to have better receiver play with players they have coming back and bringing in a guy like Zachariah Branch? Or are we going to see the same problems that I think plagued them offensively at times last season? And if so, with the schedule that they have, it could be tough for Georgia to defend its SEC title and obviously be in that playoff mix. So, and then again, Alabama's not Nick Saban's Alabama. So there are pathways for programs like LSU, for like South Carolina this year, A&M. There are pathways to move up in the SEC. Well, you just know that not everyone can do it, and we'll see who does.
Adam, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for making time.
Thanks for having me.
Later, buddy. Adam Rittenberg on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break, and the fan show guys will be in here. And in fact, it'll be a 3-person panel because Hunter Shurtleff makes his return. It's been months since we've seen him. All right, guys, let's talk about insurance decisions. They shouldn't be made quickly. They should, you should take time. Your insurance agent should take time to explain the process to you, which is why I love Rollo Insurance. The Rollo Insurance Group is a very local company. You know all about them. They care about this community, and they provide the best insurance consultation. You'll get your personal insurance agent's phone number. You can call them. You can text them. You can figure out what the future is going to be. They take time to explain the policy to you and all the options that are available to you so you can make the most informed decision. And when local matters hit home, like severe weather, whatever other thing that could happen here in the community, they will be right here for you on the ground, taking care of you. And they're all over Texas, 60 offices in the great state of Texas, and really all around the country as well. Make sure you call them up, and that's why so many local families and businesses make Rollo their first call. The difference is real. 888-44-ROLLO, 888-44-ROLLO, or rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's 888-44-ROLLO or rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. And it worked. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for the Fan Show. And I've got to say this, Hunter Shurtleff making his return to the program.
Late spring appearance.
Man, we're getting the band back together. Let's go.
It's like football season.
And Roy May, hello.
Hey, how are you?
And Matt Browning, hello.
Good morning, buddy. How are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see everybody here. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ambry Heath.
Can I do like a cool?
There you go.
Does that count?
You sound like a cheerleader, though.
You're going to learn real quick that this is like herding cats on this show.
Yeah.
Well, what is on y'all's mind?
Let's let Mr. Hunter Shurtleff answer first, because it's been a minute.
We have to.
What's on our mind? So
baseball?
Yeah, that's part of it. What's on my mind though is it right as part of the baseball and softball kind of end of the season, right? So there's a portion of our fan base out there that is just, oh, our athletic department's in disarray. You know, we're horrible. This is the worst program ever, and that bugs me because it's not true. At first, it's kind of based on certainly our big three: football, baseball, basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look back, we had a first-year football coach. We were 7-1, 8-1 at one point. Had a path to the playoff. Even when we dropped the second game, fell apart there at the end. Certainly disappointing. The basketball season, we lost it was a great regular season, right? For this program, we're not a blue blood. That was a good year. We lost in a 4 versus 5 matchup in the NCAAs. Okay, let's not act like a 16 seed beat us.
Yeah.
All right, disappointing, yes, but there. Baseball disaster, I get that. But if you look at the overall athletic department, right, just quickly, the teams that are doing good. Volleyball, much improved.
Very good.
Sweet 16 appearance. Men's swimming is top 15. Women's swimming, top 20 finish. Equestrian, top 5. Softball had a great year. A great year. Number 1 ranked seed going into the tournament. Disaster regional, right?
Yep.
That I attended. So it was good. Yeah. But a great year, right? Just didn't finish right. Men's golf, top 10. Women's golf, top 20. Men's tennis, top 15. Women's tennis, national champion last year, runner-up national champion this year, and then track and field's top 5 program. So let's not act like our athletic department and Trev over there has no idea what's going on. I mean, he's well-liked. Seems like the coaches like him. Yeah, he's got some budget issues.
Look at Hunter bringing the positivity
Well,
this
I was going to
morning.
say, I
love it.
This is how I framed it on the show, and tell me if you agree. Just disappointing finishes in the big 3.
Certainly.
And some others. But like this, like we got so close in football. Oh my gosh, this is where we were up by 10 in basketball. Oh, we lost that one. And baseball is what baseball is.
Yeah.
And I get it, including myself. Those are the 3 that I care about, right? The most. But I think we'll be all right. It's going to be okay.
I like it. I like the positivity. Man, Hunter coming in like Dr. Chad with notes. Except for he writes them down on a legal pad like he's like class of 1932.
Yeah, I don't read my phone in court. So.
Mr. Brownie, what do you have?
Well, what's on my mind first, I want to say congrats to my buddy Ryan Swope for the Hall of Fame. It was fun listening to those two this morning on the radio and having that. I've got a couple quick tidbits on Ryan. So first time, I've known him for a few years now, like all of us do. You know, when you live here in town, he's around town. We all see him, but I never forget one of the first times I met him. I asked him, I said, "How many touchdowns do you have your senior year?" He goes, "I don't know." He had no idea.
Right.
He doesn't keep up with that. Humble dude, buddy. But when McGee was talking about how competitive he is, that dude is competitive. I've gone fishing with him, and a couple times, and he wants to destroy you in fishing. He wants to outfish you. I mean, for fishing. I mean, I go out there and turn my brain off, just cast, just have a good time, catch some. No, he's like, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he probably casted twice as many times as I did, just one after another as fast as he could go, and he was, and then when he beats you, which he does not let you forget about it.
Sure.
He makes sure that you know about it very, very well. So, congrats to him. And then, but one other quick thing, I was watching so Josh Pate, did y'all see Josh Pate's thing on the most hated fan bases in America?
I did not see that. Were we on the list?
No, we were not.
Okay.
But his number one I think we would all agree with, was Texas. Texas was number one. Although, and he said something pretty funny. He was like, the reason they all are proud of being the most hated program.
Yeah, they embrace it.
They embrace it, but he actually called them out. He said the reason they think that is because they have that mindset of you hate us because you ain't us kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, and he goes, no, that's not the case. He goes, none of them want to be y'all. You know, nobody wants to be you. He said that you're hated because of just the absolute, just irrational mindset that most of them have. I mean, it's pretty funny. It was pretty funny watching him call them out. Now he tried to be nice about it too. You know, he didn't want to alienate that entire fan base from his show.
Sure,
obviously,
well, he should.
But he called it out. He should. Yeah, he called it out. He called him out on it.
You know
which
what's
was
interesting
funny.
about the whole Texas thing, and I think certain, like in the pros, there's certain teams or franchises that become hated because of their success, and there's an arrogance that comes with their fan base and their media. The New England Patriots, right? But Cowboys are in a way like Texas in the fact that it's been a minute, right? I know that they made
Cowboys in the 90s.
right?
Yeah.
And I think we can almost stomach it better if it's Georgia, if it's Ohio State, because they're, at least from a football perspective, is now.
Yeah.
Right?
Bama.
Right?
Yeah.
And Texas has had 2 really good years in football. Sure. But the arrogance of the new fan, I think is interesting. But that might be in all fan bases, right? There's an arrogance of the younger fans of each program, even ours at times, that I think it is interesting.
Well, from our standpoint too, though, we see them for what they really are.
Yeah.
Because we're day in and day out across the state of Texas. Aggies working with Longhorns, all this, everyone knows. And my hometown. I mean, after A&M after Texas beat us. I mean, they're all posting on social media. Oh, poor Aggies. By the way, none of those people on my went to Texas, and I can say that as a T-shirt Aggie fan. So that stuff drives you crazy. But just that we are the Joneses. We are the Joneses stuff. That's the stuff that just drives you nuts.
Well, and that's how I've described the Longhorn fan base, especially on social media. In Twitter and X, right? So they're dumb, right? They're not knowledgeable about the game. Okay, seriously. I mean, they're in their bubble. They don't have a good knowledge of college football. B, they're arrogant, and then C, they had the total lack of self-awareness.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
We do got to hit a break here in a second. You want to give us your thought?
I can wait.
You sure?
We got to hit a break.
Yeah, and then Hobart had a response to you.
All right.
Hobart, I think he's typical. I'm going to have to look at his history. I think he's typically negative Nancy, but we'll find out. If your car was hit by the recent hailstorm, don't trust an out-of-town pop-up tent with your car. Trust somebody who's local, who's been here for the test of time. We're talking about Classic Collision and Restoration. They've been in this area for 25 years, and countless customers have trusted them to bring back their car to showroom form. And there's a bunch of out-of-town pop-up tents that have shown up in many industries, right? And Matt can tell you about it on the roofing side of things.
Stay local.
But if you go with somebody who's out of town, no matter what business we're talking about, they're gone, right? They're not gonna be around to help you when you have some issues. Classic Collision will do it, and they offer a very quality service here in the area. Don't get your car fixed, get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. Aggie owned and operated by Doug Leopold, class of '93. Call them up, 979-779-8399, or online, classiccollisionandrestoration.com. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Fan show, guys. We're still here. Some commentary.
Still here, like you were going to get this out.
I got used to you guys doing like a segment and a half. It was great. But, Hunter's coming, so I went long.
They're still here.
Anyway, Hobart, who had something negative earlier, said, Dave, a great interview with Swope and Stephen McGee. Thank you, Hobart. See, not everything is negative. Let me go to his comment, then we'll go to Roy's thoughts. Where'd it go? I think, Hunter, this is what's called a false positive, LOL. That was a Sumlin 7-1. I don't agree.
Jimbo Fisher? No, I don't think so.
I think beating LSU the way you did in Florida, who turned out to be a pretty good team.
Right. You had a Jekyll and Hyde quarterback situation where your 5-star starter no-showed right early in the year, and then came back for like one appearance. So you were going back and forth there, and then late in the year your running back goes down and stuff. So I mean, we don't like those excuses. I don't think that was a mirage. I think they were playing pretty well.
Are they excuses or are they just facts?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we accept them. Like I want A&M to be a program that can overcome a Tyreek Chappelle injury, a Chase Masantas injury, and a Le'Veon Moss injury. I want a program that can, because other programs sometimes find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough end, but I mean, I guess they proved that they're capable of playing well.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm going to agree. I mean, that was a stinker. By the kind of end, when you have that lead up and you're in that position, it was a huge deflation of the fan base, right? So I'm going to agree with him there. I was talking about kind of overall athletic department, though. We're okay.
The curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And real quick, if it's national championship or bust, if that's your goal for every program, you're going to be disappointed when you got 130, 200, and in baseball, 300 teams that are, competing for it. So I think other championships count. Good seasons count. So,
all right, Mr. May, what is on your mind an hour later?
Are we in overtime yet? So for me, the big three are over, right? It's all done with. I've found my interest to be waning as far as watching college baseball, and I'm not watching softball. But so it's leaning forward in the foxhole next year, right? That's what we're all kind of, starting to pick up on. People are getting back into recruiting for football and keeping an eye on the baseball situation. And baseball in particular, what's on my mind is bringing Cliff Pennington home. I absolutely love that hire. DBU is a fantastic program. And to be able to bring him back here, I think what he's been able to do in his coaching career, and obviously what he did here and what he did in the big leagues speaks for itself. But to be able to bring Cliff back, I think it's going to be a massive impact in this program. And I know that the boards, the boards are the boards. I don't even know why I reference them sometimes. But this is a hire that I think a lot of people wanted but didn't think could occur. I think that was kind of the general sentiment was, man, it'd be great if we could bring Cliff home, but it's not going to happen because it's DBU, Chief. But Michael Early was able to do that, and I hope, and again, it's hope, and it's always next year kind of stuff, right? It's what it always feels like. But this is the kind of hire that, to me, can change a bit of the culture behind the scenes that we don't see. And I know there was all this complaint about, the players calling Coach Early by his first name and all this stuff. There's a lot more that goes into it than just that. Like, let's stop trying to find one specific thing that, in the grand scheme of things, is incredibly minute and insignificant. But I think what Cliff Pennington will bring to this program, especially having played in this program, and I don't want to do the he gets A&M thing, but he's played in this program. He understands Aggie baseball, the expectations that we have for this program, and the expectations the program has for itself. And so for me right now, I'm really kind of buzzing off that hire. I just think it's such a huge hire to bring him home and what he's going to bring, not just to the field for performance, but what he's going to bring to the clubhouse.
So go ahead.
No, I mean, baseball is our most consistent, best Big Three sport, right? Mm-hmm. So if you look back, the NCAA tournament, just like basketball, has kind of changed through the years. And it wasn't until the late 80s we kind of started getting this format. But even then, it was 48 teams, and you played a 6-team regional, and then you went to the World Series. But let's just go back to the 80s. Aggie baseball has made 30 of the last 40 NCAA tournaments, okay? Mm-hmm. Something like 16, I forget, 11 or 12 regional championships got to the super regionals, okay? In there were 13 conference championships or tournament championships, okay, in that time period. and 16 of the last 17 before this year NCAA tournaments were made. Super consistent, and 6 College World Series appearances in that time frame, right? So this is our bell cow. I mean, this is consistent. We have certainly high expectations for that weren't met this year, and hopefully, somebody like that can kind of infuse our coaching staff and our players.
Exactly. For me, and again, it's not that he gets A&M, right? He gets the expectations and the quality of this program. This is one of the best college baseball programs in America. All right, I get that we don't have any World Series titles, but you go back to the numbers you're stating. We are one of the most consistent performers on the college baseball stage, and he understands that. He gets that. He played within this program.
If you're good and you get A&M, right? It's a great thing to be.
It's gravy on top, right?
Right. Yeah. But you got to be really good. Oh, and also you understand the way it works here. You understand the way we think, the way we play the sport, the way our fans get. Then it's a positive. But if you get A&M and you're not any good, I don't care.
That doesn't move the needle for me. And my biggest thing is just he understands the quality. A&M baseball recruits itself. It really does. And I hate to say it, A&M football kind of does, but the 12th man helps recruit for Aggie football, right? Kyle Field helps recruit for Aggie football in the facilities. A&M baseball program recruits itself because of its historical performance.
So a week ago, I think you weren't here, but we all kind of thought maybe this is the last couple of days of Michael Early. We haven't touched on, they're bringing him back with a little distance from the season, distance from the decision over the weekend on Friday afternoon, Friday after the show, I think it was. How do you guys feel about it, knowing now that the Cliff Pennington move and also he's got a full transfer portal window to go get some of the deficiencies that maybe they had this year? Hunter, you start us off.
Well, I mean, first of all, I was looking at it, in my opinion, maybe I would have done something different. But I was privy to some information going back, a month or so ago that I kind of knew where this was going. And what I saw was our fan base like getting whipped up in this coaching shirts that probably wasn't going to come to fruition, right? Yeah. So I'm fine with it. I mean, I had an expectation he was going to return, and I'm okay with it. I'm glad he made some changes, and hopefully make some more changes like Bronny was talking about as far as the program. So, right, because everybody wants to talk about the Missouri series, and that was awful, right? I went to a bunch of baseball games this year, right? So I saw this, but I saw a lot of good too, and some bad. But those series that we won, the LSU, the Tennessee, the Arkansas, right? You got to look at those, and he's doing something right during those weekends.
Well, it's one of those where, and one of the biggest complaints has been, A&M baseball is not where you learn on the job, right? All right, well, fine. You take that statement and put it away at this point, because now he's had a year in this program. He's here for next year, right? That's happening. Hopefully, he did learn on the job, right? And it would appear that he did, given that. And obviously, when you have a poor season, you're going to make some changes, right? The assistant coaches tend to be the casualties of these events,
right?
But hopefully, from what he gleaned throughout the year as he grew as a head coach, and understanding, Michael Early's not new to Texas A&M either, and understanding that his ability to go get Cliff and understand that there needs to be change. I think that's a positive that you can look at in the sense that he understands. I'm sure if you talk to him, he's going to tell you, this season absolutely sucked. He'll probably just tell you that, right? If you were able to pull him offline and off the record, he'd be like, man, this is absolutely terrible. It's almost as bad as it ever could have imagined. But he understands that he's got to be better, and he understands that this program, quite frankly, deserves better. And so the changes that he's making and the lessons that he's learned, because he did learn on the job for the year, and so that happened. You can say you're not supposed to, but it did, and he did. And so you have to hope that between that and the changes that he's making, both at a staff level and hopefully within the program, kind of the internal, pulse of the program, obviously things need to change a little bit because the talent was there. Not all of the talent. This wasn't the same team. But, you hope that since he did have to learn on the job this year in the hardest conference in America, those lessons will be applied next year.
And we've seen this before. We had a coach that was here for 2 decades, right? And then Bill Burns said he's seen enough, hires a pitching coach from Nebraska, right? Mm-hmm. Rob Childress' first year here was a disaster. And we were in the same boat saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. What did we do? We just went the wrong direction. Did we pull the cord on this guy? And, Rob turned around instantly. So.
Yeah. I mean, you were better today at your job than you were your first day, right?
Absolutely.
But your first year. I mean, you have to be a better attorney today than you were your first year. You're a better real estate professional today than you were your first year.
Here, and I think like Dave in Houston sent a message that he thinks it's insane that it's okay for early to be returning. The decision was made, and I think that decision was partially made a year ago, regardless of what happened. None of us are happy with the way the season went. You don't have to have a definitive take on the 2026 season based on the 2025 season. Are there signs that things were going south this year? Absolutely. Is he trying to fix those issues? I think it's what I have understood had they made the move, 100%. I kind of expected them to make the move. I didn't have the same information you had. I thought they were going to make the move. But the fact that he is here, it's insane that you make the decision a year ago to have him and not give a guy a couple of years to figure it out. And not only figure it out, 2 years, I think, is kind of like the minimum, unless, well, this was as bottom as you can get.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can look at it and go, okay, look, we showed flashes. I mean, we won the Tennessee series, won the Arkansas series, we won the LSU series. I mean, so there are flashes of where
good baseball.
This is really good baseball. Our guys, and then of course you have the Texas and the Missouri series. Those are the two that really, really hurt. And then of course
Texas series hurts me more than the Missouri one. I know that I'm the minority
especially at the time because we were on a roll going into that, and then to drop 3 straight to them, again. But the fact is that we saw flashes of great. But I mean, look, we all learn. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like we're all better. You're all better at your job than you were early. Right? We get a chance to grow and improve and learn from our mistakes. I mean, this is his first head coaching job. So again, am I saying, we obviously hindsight's 2020. In 3 years, we all sit there and laugh at ourselves for saying this, one way or the other. We should have seen the signs then, or we can be like, hey, I'm glad we didn't just jump to the emotions of the time and kick this guy to the curb.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not insane, as he's saying, because you can
nothing
argue
insane
it both
about
ways. You can disagree with the decision, but it's not insanity.
I have no problem with anybody who thinks the other way.
The decision has been made.
So now you just move on.
You got to move on.
By the way, we got to hit a break here. Asa says, I wonder if Roy May is ever confused with Dan Campbell. Quite an eerie resemblance. I don't see it.
Minus the muscle and the
success.
And,
good looks.
Well, maybe in the looks department.
I'll give him that Dan Campbell attitude part of it.
Yeah. He's got a little bit of that. We'll let it break. Ground shuttle, they offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. So if your kids are in College Station for summertime and they're trying to get home for 4th of July or whatever it may be, this is a great way to get them to the Bush and not have to worry about parking. You're going to probably spend less money anyway. It's easy, it's frequent, and it's reliable. They've got 9 shuttle times on weekdays and 5 shuttle times on the weekends every 2.5 hours. They're excellent for business travelers and, of course, vacationers, you name it. They also have charter service, and you can book their fleet to go anywhere in the state of Texas, private, door-to-door, you name it, they've got you. They're local, and they will take great care of you. It's if you want to book it online, you can do it at groundshuttle.com. That is groundshuttle.com. Check them out. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. David in Houston actually responding to his initial text, which was about the keeping early. He says, I guess because I responded, should we just rip them or can we move forward? Because I think it's time to move forward, right? Like
we have to.
You have to as a fan base. And, if things are great, hopefully David will be one of the first ones to text next year. And I'm sure if things aren't, he'll be one of the first as well. But it says here, he should not have made the back and Trev made a mistake. But looking forward, Pennington is a great hire. Regional isn't enough. I don't know what is enough. I don't know.
Well, no, I'll tell you right now, for A&M baseball, regionals are the minimum. That is the minimum for Aggie baseball. And I'm not saying 90 years in a row. Like, you're going to miss it every once in a while. It's going to happen, right? But we need to be going to regional. We need to get, postseason really is kind of the floor for Aggie baseball as a program, in my opinion. I might be wrong, but I've watched Aggie baseball a long, long time. And very rarely do I ever remember watching baseball in the playoffs without Aggie baseball in it.
Well, and by the way, I do want to say this. Texas fired a coach for losing. I mean, not just for losing, but he made the College World Series
twice,
3 times, and they lost in the regional round last year. Where did Schloss lose this year?
The regional round?
Hosting.
Yeah.
So they had a much better season than A&M, as a lot of the teams that lost in the regional round. A lot of SEC teams lost, right?
Bloodbath.
But their season lasted maybe 7-8 days longer, guys. So those fan bases are upset as well.
They made a massive change, thinking that that Schloss was going to literally take them to the same distance that he took us
in year one.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of SEC fan bases upset right now.
Oh, yeah.
That regional round was
9
brutal.
teams lost.
But I hate to say that's baseball, but that's baseball.
It really is.
It's just a different cat.
It's a weird game.
Yeah, it's
baseball and softball are the same, man. If you'd have told me 2 months ago that A&M was going to lose a Liberty in their own regional, I'd have been like, I would have laughed you out of the building.
I will say that is a reason why you look at what Oklahoma's done in softball and you go, that is as impressive as this Alabama football run, or as impressive as, that is because baseball and softball are such a quirky game.
Yeah.
To have a dynasty like that in that sport is super impressive. So.
No, I'm not paying attention to the softball college world.
Man, I'm watching that. I'm watching the region. I watch the regionals. I watch the supers. I love college baseball.
Yeah. No,
would love to go to Omaha, just to go to Omaha again. Went both times recently when 22 and 24.
I flip the games on, but I'm not religiously following it. Yeah, I'll watch them.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
David.
Tomorrow on the program, I'll be doing the Go Hour, but then I got to tap out. I got an event to go speak at. But Bronny will take over. Billy will be here. I think Zane's going to hang out with me for a little bit. Bronny and Billy.
That'll be some infighting.
The 2 Bs. We'll see you mañana. Thanks so much for watching.